Fresh out the box!
Hey everybody, welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am the Game Master Extraordinaire and Board Game Guru, Johananon.
And I'm the co-host, Casualty CDG. I'm a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and thank you all for listening on our, let's see, I believe 13th episode? Ooh.
Ooh, just in time for October.
Where are y'all at on superstitions? You know, the 13th episode.
Zero.
Anything
I'm
there?
at 0.
Yeah, I mean, we should have skipped it and
Superstition
gone.
is the crutch of the fool.
No, we should have skipped episode 13 and gone straight to 14. Oh.
That's why they don't put 13th floors on fucking hotels and stuff. Not
Yeah,
because
but-
anything's wrong with them, but because dumb people will go there to kill themselves.
But Jahan, if you go from the 14th floor down to the 12th floor, then you can find the 13th floor in between there, and it's full of spooky stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the elevator
The
just
13th
doesn't
floor
stop
is
there.
in your mind. You know, I'm gonna write this down. We're having a thing.
This just makes me think of Walt Disney World's Tower of Terror. That's what I always think of with elevators and 13th
Didn't they
floor for
turn
some
that
reason.
into Guardians of the Galaxy Super Adventure?
The Disneyland one in California has been rebranded to a Guardians of the Galaxy ride. The Disney World one is still the creepy hotel.
I
I don't know if they're going to change that in the future, but
Don't you have a picture on the Tower of Terror? You used to have it on your fridge, where you ruined everybody's photo.
yeah, everybody. I do. I have a picture where everybody is screaming or has their arms up in the air, and I'm just sitting there with my arms crossed with a really mad face.
It's really funny. You ruined the picture for everyone, and it's awesome.
Do you do that in a lot of roller coaster pictures?
No,
I-
that's the only time I did that one, and it worked. It was so good that I ended up buying that picture because I thought it was fun.
I would love a collection of those. I would actually keep a collection of those around my house on the wall. Like just different pictures of you on different rides with your arms crossed looking pissed off and everyone else enjoying themselves.
Well, because it's two-way street, right? Because I find the picture funny, so I get enjoyment out of it. But then there's other people on that ride that maybe want to buy their picture, that they had the greatest time, and then there's some dude just ruining their picture.
Well,
So
and
I'm sure there's
people,
bad families.
then there's people like me who would look at it and be like, I don't really want that picture, and then see you in it and be like, whoa, look at that guy. Like, okay, so it's got me in it, but also get a look at this guy.
Yeah,
Oh man.
I like that picture.
Hey, let's talk Tokyo Game Show, because that's going on still. Well, by the time this audio episode posts, it will, I think, be over or about to end. But
Is Tokyo Game Show the 9th Fast and Furious movie?
Tokyo Drift : Tokyo Game Show.
Mm-hmm.
Drift into games. No.
John, I'll let you lead this, but Tokyo Game Show, I believe, it's an annual video game convention, I guess.
Yeah,
it'd be
it's a
the
huge game
right-
convention in Tokyo that's been going on for decades. I remember back in the day, X-Play used to fly out there every time and go do that with Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb. Good
I
times.
loved Adam Sessler in Little Nicky.
Nice.
Oh boy.
So some of the big announcements that have come out so far, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreaker details have come out. That is the expansion for the latest Monster Hunter game. Apparently there's going to be a new hub, a new central area. It looks fun. That game looks great. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan.
Gary went through a Monster Hunter phase at one point, I think.
So I loved Monster Hunter World because it was an awesome co-op game and killing giant monsters is really cool. Plus, there's a weapon called the Insect Glaive.
Yes.
And if you use it the right way, you literally never have to touch the ground. You can just fly around and juggle and bounce and cartwheel. And it's just a really fun way to play the game. It's a really fun mechanic. And I really just enjoyed playing the Insect Glaive. And now getting back into Monster Hunter is really hard because you have to play certain missions in certain order. And it's just the beginning probably takes about 4 or 5 hours just to be introduced to all the biomes before you can even start to hunt or explore. So I like the Monster Hunter series, and I think there's something there, but I'm not a huge series fan. I wouldn't say like Jahan is. Jahan's a true Monster Hunter lover.
I mean, I played every one since PS2, and yeah, I've been a huge fan since I was very young. I love Monster Hunter. What else can you ask for? Monster Hunter World was amazing. Going back to a real full-blown Monster Hunter game is a little daunting. I'm not gonna lie, because the inventories and all that stuff, like they unstreamline a lot of it. It's very crunchy. But yeah, Rise is fun. You get to ride around on pets and stuff. That's kind of cool. And yeah, they have new content coming, so that's exciting.
I know those games are super popular, but I tried to jump into one years ago and realized it was not for the casuals for sure. And I was like, nope, this is over my head. I'm out.
I was gonna say not to bash on Monster Hunter, but they also, once you get late game, there are sets that you need to have, certain armor sets and weapon, not necessarily weapon sets, but certain armor sets and defense bonuses for sure. Just to survive the encounters, you have to build the right way. So it's not like, what do you want to look like? It's not, what do you want your stats to be? It becomes, you need this gear to do this thing. And I think at that point of the game, it's less fun. So there is this really fun middle section of the game for me where you're with your friends killing giant monsters. But then the late game it feels a little narrow, and the early game is a little long.
I think that's just a description of any RPG, really. I mean, it always narrows at the end.
I also, when I play Diablo, right, I like to play co-op on the couch with my wife or with my brother, with my friends. And then after I play the co-op campaign, I'm good. I don't need to do late game Diablo item sets. I don't need to do long dungeon runs over and over on Nightmare. That's just not really for me. I guess the late game on those games might be a little similar in that respect.
So another like quick news from the game show, Scarlet Nexus. It's a game that's been on the radar for a long time. It's been on the coming to Game Pass. That finally dropped on Game Pass. And it's like an anime style RPG. Looks pretty fun. I don't know if I'll play it, but hey, if you have Game Pass,
notice that a few new additions to Game Pass dropped in the past few days, and I don't know if that's just the beginning of the month, but a lot of them seem to be from Japanese developers. So I didn't know if that timing with Tokyo Game Show was on purpose, or if some of those were surprise drops on there. I haven't done the research to see, but I was pleasantly surprised at that, because I know that the team over at Microsoft, led by Phil Spencer, that they're actively trying to get more Japanese games and developers on Xbox. So I thought that was a cool move.
So the past like month or two, they've been dropping like 5-10 games a month on Game Pass. They've just been dropping them, and you don't expect them sometimes. And they've been good games like Subliminal, Subnautica Zero, which I've been waiting to play, Lemnis Gate, which we'll talk about soon. Just lots and lots of these, like, actually really good games that are, it's not a bunch of little crappy games that no one wants to play, you know? I still stand by that it's the best value in gaming right now. But to your point about Xbox and Japan seeming to merge a little bit, they did talk about Bethesda games are going to be localized for Japan, so I think that means that they're going to be like doing the full game, full dialogue, everything. Like, they're going to naturalize it so the game will appear as if it was always supposed to be in Japanese. Like, they're going to go all the way. For the games Redfall, which I'm just now hearing about from Bethesda, and Starfield, which has been on my radar for a while. But Redfall, I have not heard about this. Have you guys heard about this game?
No, and I also, before you get too far, I don't know any updated information on Starfield. So if you know either one, I'm glad to hear both.
There isn't much about Starfield that I've heard lately. I'm excited for sure. Bethesda, huge fan. Love everything they do, pretty much. Not a big Doom guy, but whatever. Bethesda, it looks like Redfall is some sort of monster hunting game. Not like Monster Hunter, like, vampires, that kind of thing.
I believe it was a trailer dropped at the end of the Xbox conference at E3, if I remember correctly, and it was, that was after the Bethesda acquisition by Microsoft, so that was a big Bethesda reveal at the end of their conference. There was no gameplay shown, nobody knew about this game, but yeah, we don't know for sure what the game's going to be, but the trailer gave vibes of like a Left 4 Dead style co-op game hunting monsters. But
this
like
is how you guys need to start quantifying or qualifying my interest. Is the first words out of your mouths need to be whether or not this is co-op. Because the whole time I was like, Bethesda, I like it. Monster Hunters, I like it, but I'm waiting to hear if it's co-op. And you finally said those magic words. Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, scary co-op. Yeah, Bethesda. Now that I'm thinking about it, they really don't do a lot of multiplayer stuff.
No, and for the longest time I've thought that in the Elder Scrolls series, when you do a dungeon, you go to the door, you open the door, and it does a small load.
Yeah.
And then the dungeon is a small indoor instance. It's not this giant open world thing. I think that you should be able to do those small dungeons with an ally.
That's how they do it in Dark Souls, and that would be a really cool way to play Elder Scrolls. You're not wrong.
That way we just get treasure, I help you fight, but I don't interact with your story and your world or kill any of your NPCs or anything. I can just dungeon quest with you. And, that would open the idea to large dungeon crawls where you could do like a 4-man co-op with your main character from your Elder Scrolls quest. I would love it, and Fallout's the same way. I need some co-op in my life.
This looks like it's going to scratch that for you, buddy. Yeah, I'm watching the trailer right now, and it looks like asymmetrical co-op, so it looks like each of the characters plays different.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about.
But I think to get back to the topic at hand a little bit with Tokyo Game Show and this announcement with Bethesda and Microsoft is that, they've been making big moves to try to get, more Japanese gamers to buy the Xbox because that console just historically has not done well in Japan. They're all there for PlayStation and for Sony, and I think the Series X and S have sold better or had a better launch in Japan than any other Xbox console, so it's doing better from what I understand. But if they keep making moves like this and making their stuff more accessible to the gamers over there, hopefully it'll continue to kind of increase their share of voice in Japan. I think that's a good move for them.
No, absolutely. It definitely seems like they're putting in the effort, and we'll see if it pays off for them. I love Bethesda, and I want them to do well. Also, I like Xbox. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a dumb American, but I like Xbox. Not that I'm a huge King of Fighters guy, but hey, there's a new King of Fighters coming. So, there you go. I don't know if either of you care.
Isn't that the kaiju mecha city beat 'em up game?
No.
I don't know.
No, this is it's in the same vein of like a Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's like Street Fighter. It's an old franchise. It's been around for a long time. I feel like I played it on the Game Boy, maybe.
Nope.
But
yeah, I've got nothing to add on that one.
I'm a Mortal Kombat Tekken kind of guy. I don't really. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. I do like fighter games. Let us know what you guys think at home. Because I don't know. I got nothing for you on King of Fighters.
I think the one I'm thinking of is called King of Monsters.
Yes.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's just a kaiju fighting game where you fight each other and destroy the city, but it was for an old platform, maybe the Super Nintendo, I think. And they had a remade one for Nintendo 64 at some point that was trash. But it was kind of like Rampage, in the same vein of Rampage.
Yeah, the Tokyo Game Show is still ongoing, but they've announced a couple things that are happening soon. I think I accidentally went past it earlier. No, it's on the other window. It is a game from Square Enix. Yes, here it is. It's a game from Square Enix that just got announced and is going to apparently drop really soon. From Hiroyuki Ito, who directed Final Fantasy 6, 9, and created the active time battle system, which is a really cool way to play RPGs. He's making something called Dungeon Encounters, which is a new game from Square Enix. And it sounds fun. It sounds like it's going to be, I mean, with all those accolades and things behind him, that sounds interesting at the very least. But it's a new dungeon crawling RPG from Square Enix. Just got announced, and I believe, it's going to be released on October 14th. So, like, we just heard about this, and it's coming out in 12 days from the time of the recording. So, that's kind of crazy. So that's some pretty big news. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Gary? You want to try it out? That sounds like co-op.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down. I'm always down to clown. I'll give anything a shot if it's co-op, if it's multiplayer. I'm on to hop on board and see what it's like.
Yeah. And there's been more released about the game Triangle Strategy. I don't know if either of you guys have had a chance to play that. It's a tactics game that it gets pretty complex with the synergies and whatnot, but that's going on right now. I know
played
the demo.
There's a demo. I know there's a demo, and I know the art style is very similar to Octopath Traveler, which was also out for Switch, which actually is on Game Pass now too. And it looked interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna be picking this one up at launch. I'll see. I feel like I've got a lot of other stuff to play right now, but I like that kind of art style, and I don't know. It's that kind of stuff is very cozy to me. Like I really enjoyed Octopath Traveler. Excuse me. It's kind of a basic
Octopath Traveler
RPG,
was awesome.
but I liked it.
It was a true love letter to JRPGs, and it was different at the same time, and it was just very interesting, very fun. You could approach the story from so many directions, which was kind of novel for a JRPG, And this game is very much a tactics game. It's very crunchy, so if you're into that, this game might be for you. If you are not, it might not be. It's very crunchy. But yeah, so those were some of the bigger announcements that I rounded up that other people rounded up.
Yeah, the only thing I'll call out, because I'm a Final Fantasy guy. I'm a fan of the Final Fantasy games, and I did tune into one of the streams from Tokyo Game Show. I guess maybe it was Square Enix's stream, and they were revealing it when I joined in this Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, and I was like, oh man, what is this? And I was thinking this is some new Final Fantasy VII spinoff, which I'm a fan of Final Fantasy VII, and it is a mobile battle royale game. So as excited as I was to see Final Fantasy VII, as soon as I got that reveal, I said, never mind, not for me. I hope people get that and enjoy it. I hope the people that are looking forward to it enjoy it, but it's not for me.
It's weird that you hope they enjoy it. I hope they choke on it and die. So the only Final Fantasy game I want, because they've basically all come to Game Pass at this time, I just want to play one of the Final Fantasy MMOs. I've always wanted to play one. I've always been interested. I want to see the classes and character customization, the different armors and stuff. I'm just totally interested in how that works in that world, because I love character customization. And because of that, I'm not a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series. So the one thing that really attracts me is the one that I still can't play yet.
Yeah, I know Final Fantasy 14, I believe, is their current big MMO, and I know that it's still very popular and actually strong. Highly praised too, like very, very positively reviewed. And I feel like they have been trying to get that on consoles for a while, but I don't know if they're just not having luck or if they gave up on that. Maybe it's not happening.
So
I'm not sure.
It has, as far as I know, that game still has a membership fee, and bringing it to console with a membership fee isn't going to do anything for them. If it's going to come to console, it's going to have to be free like the other console MMOs like Neverwinter and Black Desert, and I could go on. I just don't feel like it.
I think even the ones that had subscription fees have gone free to play. Like I think Elder Scrolls Online might have originally had a subscription fee. Remember when DC Universe Online first launched and it had subscription fee, and now it's free to play.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, there's two more exactly. And if you go to the marketplace on Xbox Live and search MMO, they are all free for a reason. And I don't know, like you said, and Jahan said, Final Fantasy has this success in 14. People love it, and people are still paying subscriptions. So I don't know if they're ready to make it free.
Yeah, a lot of games have, like a lot of the games you mentioned, you can still pay a subscription, but it just gives you bonus content, which is really cool, including Elder Scrolls. You can get like, you kind of get like an in-game currency allowance and like additional storage and like access to stuff that you wouldn't normally have for money. But yeah, I don't see Final Fantasy going free anytime soon because it is so popular. And also, the thing I would like to point out about most of the games that you mentioned is that they all suck. And so like, yeah,
Okay,
the
hold
shitty
up.
games
Elder
are
Scrolls
free.
Online
Elder
doesn't
Scrolls Online
suck.
was decent.
Okay, thank you. That's
It
all I
was
needed.
decent.
The rest sucked. No argument.
It was a decent grind to fucking nowhere because the end game is trash. So like, what's the point?
I thought
But
the PvP arenas were really fun.
the
when they
PvP
weren't
was
broken,
cool,
and
but
I thought
also
that
broken.
it was really easy to jump into a dungeon session with other
Yeah.
people, and I thought it was a lot of
It
fun.
had a lot of stuff going for it. Endgame was trash. PvP was broken, and you know, a lot of issues. But Final Fantasy doesn't seem to have those. Final Fantasy seems solid. Final Fantasy seems like it's.
I'd love to give it a shot.
I would also love to touch that game with my face and just go. Just give it a good old MMORPG.
So as much as I love y'all's sound effects and comparisons for how much you love that, was that it from Tokyo Game Show?
Yeah, that was all I had from there so far. It's not concluded yet, so there might be more information forthcoming.
So basically, as soon as we finish recording, the biggest announcement out of the show is going to come out, and we didn't get to talk about it. Probably, most likely, is what will
Essentially,
happen.
when this episode drops on Spotify tomorrow morning, there will still be a conference yet to come. So yeah, we don't have all the information. Maybe we can talk about it next time we record.
Well, what we can talk about this time we're recording is Venom.
Ooh.
I wanted to talk Venom because the new Venom film, the sequel to the first Venom movie from 2018, is out this weekend and doing pretty well at the box office, actually. Getting grossing more than it was initially projected, a lot more, actually. So, but before we talk about the movie versions of Venom or anything like that, which I'll get into later, I just wanted to talk in general about Venom with y'all because I know Gary and I grew up, you know, as comic book fans but you know, I think really getting into it in junior high, and Venom was, even back then, a pretty popular character on the comic circuit. You know, obviously he was created in the 80s, but I think that there are some, you know, obviously there's the main heroes of comic books that I think become, you know, they're a lot of people, even if they don't read comics, are aware of a lot of these heroes and who they are. And Venom's one of those characters that spilled out of the comics that I think that people just had a general awareness of, even if they weren't reading comics. And even became one of those characters at one point where like he became so popular that it's like it wasn't cool to like Venom anymore at one point because everybody else liked him. So where are y'all at on Venom as a character?
I have always been a big Venom fanboy. I had for SE and S for our Super Nintendo, Thomas and I had Spider-Man Venom Ultimate Carnage. And it was a beat 'em up.
Maximum Carnage.
There you go. Maximum Carnage. It's a beat 'em up side scroller Spider-Man and Venom game. So we got to play together, and you know how I feel about co-op.
That game was awesome.
It introduced you to all the other symbiotes, and it was just very cool. And then going forward, there was the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation where Venom was a character, and it was cool to see him like 3D rendered and fight Spider-Man in the alleyway for the first time. I had an awesome Venom toy where like the face came off and you could see Eddie Brock's eyes underneath the symbiote. And so
I'm
I
gonna
had
get
a
something real quick. Keep talking.
yeah, man, get what you need. In sixth grade, I think you remember, I had the Venom shirt, the black shirt with the big white
I was
symbiote.
just about to bring it up. You read my mind. I was going to say, I remember you having the shirt, the black shirt with the white spider logo on it.
And
For
then
Venom.
even recently, as maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I went out and got a bunch of Agent Venom graphic novels and read all the newest crap. What's his name? Is it Flash? Is it
Yeah,
Flash
I
Thompson?
think it was Flash Thompson that was
Yeah.
Agent Venom.
And so Flash Thompson in that storyline is he's paralyzed, or maybe he's even missing his legs. I think he's paralyzed, and he's a war veteran. And Venom is sort of his armor and his suit and his power. It's just a really cool line. I love Venom. I like what they've done with him moving forward, and yeah, I've always been a Venom fan. I never got off the bandwagon. Jahan's back, and he is showing us that he has a Venom pop.
Yeah, I got some of my Venom stuff. I couldn't find everything I have, but because I didn't want to take forever. Was the PlayStation game you're talking about this one, the same one for the N64?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the same one.
Yeah, I still have it. I still have the red cartridge. If I'm not mistaken, the beat 'em up you were talking about also was a red cartridge.
I believe it was.
I grabbed the closest to Venom comic I have, which doesn't include. I have the whole like the backlog. I do love Venom. So Venom has always been cool, always been iconic. I mean, he's like this big tough cool guy. He's the cool superhero. He's cool to like. He's edgy. But they've done so much cool stuff with that character. In the past years, and also with Carnage and all the other symbiotes that came from the initiative that they show in the first Venom movie, like Scream and just Anti-Venom and all those people, and then also Agent Venom was one of my favorite runs that they did, where Flash Thompson.
We actually were just talking about that too while you were away for a second.
Yeah,
so.
I love Agent Venom. Agent Venom was so cool. And then much more recently, they did the King in Black run, which went with the creator of all the symbiotes, Null. And like, I hope I'm saying all that right, otherwise they'll get torn apart online. But I haven't gotten to read those yet, and I really want to. And they talk about the creation of symbiotes. I'm pretty sure that guy rides a symbiote dragon at one point. So like it gets bananas, and it's just, I don't know, man. Venom is awesome, and all the stuff around him is awesome.
Which then I think that there's the famous story that he kind of got shoehorned into Spider-Man 3, the third of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, where it sounds like from the stories I've read about it, if I'm remembering correctly, is that the studio really wanted Venom to be in the movie because he was so popular, and so I don't know if Sam Raimi really wanted to go that route, and so they ended up having to put Venom in there, and it ended up being a pretty widely mocked interpretation and version of Venom. I think the only character that's been mocked even more was how Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool was depicted in that Wolverine Origins movie.
That doesn't come close to Ryan Reynolds in Green Lantern, though.
so anyway, that wasn't the best interpretation of Venom in that movie. And then now here we are, where a few years ago a Venom movie was made, and of course you can get into all the studio politics and how it came to be and the rights and who owns the rights, but basically Venom had to be its own thing outside of the MCU just because of rights. Have y'all seen the first Venom movie?
Yes.
From 2018?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I liked it. Was it does it deserve an Academy Award? No. Was it fun, exciting to watch? Was it cool? Did he eat people? Yes. That's all I wanted.
It was better than a lot of the X-Men movies.
It was better than specifically one of the X-Men movies, I think. Maybe two.
There's a lot of the X-Men movies I do not like. I really, really liked First Class a whole lot, and then and other than that, I'm not a huge fan of that series. I think Venom is fine. It's not as good as the Marvel bangers. It's not as bad as the DC flops. It's just in there, it's in there somewhere, right in the middle.
You can really kind of say this about all comic book movies, but the comparison I usually make of the Venom movie when I first saw it then was it's junk food. It's cinematic junk food. Like, it's not good for you. It's not good, but you still like it, and you can't help but just, throw it on and enjoy yourself.
I actually really like Tom Hardy. Well, I did really like Tom Hardy. In the beginning of his career, I really liked a lot of the stuff he did. Specifically, I thought Branson was fucking awesome. But
Bronson.
Bronson. I thought Bronson was fucking awesome. And then his interpretation of Bane was awful. It was very strange and very bad. Writing aside in the movie, because I have some problems with the writing too, but just his performance was not Bane-like.
I was born in darkness.
I am a bad guy.
You merely adopted it.
You can tell I beat people up from my threatening voice. It's just not... I didn't like his interpretation of Bane, and then he, as Eddie Brock, is kind of just flat as fuck. It's like, it's just, and maybe that's on purpose because Venom is the character, not Eddie Brock, and he's kind of just a good person for the symbiote to ride on because he's not exciting at all.
So this is kind of a perfect transition point from the general Venom discussion into our fresh out the podcast takes, because to transition into that with Tom Hardy's performance of Venom, which Tom Hardy is such an interesting figure to me anyway that I could speak at length about him, because he's really emerged as the anti-movie star. He could have been the next good-looking, handsome leading man in all these different action movies, and he just actively doesn't want to do that. He would rather be in a movie where he can be super weird, where, do strange voices, just really go for it in weird ways.
No matter what happens, you can't take away Mad Max Fury Road.
Mad Max Fury Road is just easily the best performance, best movie he's been in my opinion, so for good. Sure. But to me, he doesn't like wear, and it's not that I like Chris Pratt, but I'm going to use him as my example. Chris Pratt has that charm and the smile and the charisma of a leading man, and I think Tom Hardy doesn't have that. He's more like a Stallone type, where he can be a leading man in an action movie, or that what was the fighting movie that he was in, like the boxing UFC style movie where him and his brother were estranged? Warrior.
So he can play this silent badass who plays this really good role, and you can read his emotions on his face, but he doesn't have that kind of charm like Dwayne The Rock Johnson does. James The Rock Johnson, sorry. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that charisma, right?
Yeah, I think that his name's come up in the conversation before, and we'll talk about this more next week. But for Bond, like if Tom Hardy could be the next James Bond, I think that's something he actively rejects. He wouldn't want to do. He could probably do it if he would just play it straight and be Bond. But I just think he doesn't want to. It's not weird enough for him. He wants to go for it. And so, in the first Venom movie, he has spurts of being really weird in that movie and just kind of going for it at times. And so let's talk about Venom Let There Be Carnage, or let me talk about it, because I believe I'm the only one of us that's seen it so far. And basically, they took all of those parts from the first Venom movie, of all just the really weird comedic parts. That's the whole sequel. The sequel is just, they said, hey, this stuff was kind of funny and worked. Let's just make the whole movie that. So so go into it, with your expectations set there. It's just super weird. he's having a good time. I think everybody in that movie's having a good time. Uh, it's just, oh man, again, it's more junk food for sure. It's cheesier than the first one, but I thought it was fun. Woody Harrelson, probably there for a paycheck for sure to play Cletus Cassidy Carnage, but he's also having fun. You can tell he's just having a good time being a crazy serial killer.
I would have cast Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy all the way as far as back as like 2000, 2001. He would have been a great cast and is a great cast. He looks like a skinny, crazy fucking white guy, and he's a great actor, so why not? I would have always picked him as a kid and as an adult. I am kind of worried just from the way you explained it that maybe he plays it a little silly.
I mean, a little bit.
But it's Carnage. He's just a screaming, slashing maniac murderer. Anyways, it's not like it's the deepest character.
And actually, one of my biggest complaints about the movie, and this is getting super nitpicky from a comic fan, like, I try not to be that guy, like, in the comics, it's this, or I imagined it being like this. But the Carnage voice, when Cletus Cassidy is in full Carnage form, the voice is more similar to Venom's voice than what I would imagine, like a very high-pitched, screeching voice for Carnage, and it's not that. It's more of a deep symbiote voice. Not exactly the same as Venom, but more kind of in that vein, which I didn't think that was very creative for that movie interpretation. But
yeah, I imagine Venom's voice would like rattle your bones in your lungs, but Carnage's voice would crack glass and make your ears bleed.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree actually with that. That's interesting that they didn't do. I like that feels like a given kind of. He definitely, I don't know. I've only ever read what he says before, obviously.
But we all read it the same way somehow.
Yeah, we all read it as like high pitched. I don't know. Like I didn't think he would sound like this.
You're exactly right. And so, but anyway, I mean that didn't. It's not like that ruined the movie for me by any means. It was still fun. The relationship between Eddie Brock and Venom is just bizarre in the movie, and instead of like the first movie where you work to that point where they're together, in the new one, they're just together from the get-go. So you immediately get their weird, very strange exchanges. The Venom Lethal Protector moniker is brought up in the movie. So that is used, as it's been used in the comics in kind of his anti-hero stage. And then the only other thing about it that I'll say is there is a mid-credit scene in the movie that will be talked about. Oh, that's all I'll say about it. But overall, I mean, definitely don't go to Venom Let There Be Carnage expecting, this is the Oscar successor to the first one. Jahan, you said that about the first one. It's not winning any Oscars. This one, the same. But go into it just ready for a silly, dumb ride. Don't go into it, ready to critique and want a super serious Venom movie. It's not that. Also worth noting, directed by Andy Serkis of Gollum fame.
Interesting.
So, yes.
Does it kind of feel, after your description, does it kind of feel like... Oh, shit, I lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it later.
Yeah, no. I love Andy Serkis. I love everything Andy Serkis does. I mean, he's fucking Golem, like you said. That's, that's all you need. That guy is a national treasure. But no, I don't know. I grew up with the shittiest superhero movies ever. And, like, I don't know. Like, I'm fine with it. I like them. They're fun. I like cheesy, I like Batman Forever and all that stuff. Like,
I remember what I was going to say.
It's time to freeze. Like, I don't know.
From your description, Drew, it sounds almost kind of like the first Deadpool, where it was silly and fun, and it wasn't trying to be cool or awesome or good. It was just fun. It was trying to be fun. It did a good job of being fun. That's kind of what I feel like you're saying.
So that's my take on it, and it's going to be one of those divisive movies where, like, there are going to be people that saw it for what it was, as a fun trip to the movies and just silly, stupid fun, and enjoyed it. And then there's probably going to be the serious comic fans that are like, it's a disservice to Venom. I wanted more for this character. This, I don't like it. And those people can go take a hike for all I
Those,
care.
I mean, those
It's
people
just,
are dicks.
yeah, it's just it's a silly movie, and I thought it was really fun.
Those people remind me of a time I was at a bar, and I was wearing a Spider-Man shirt, and it was the cover done by McFarlane, and I didn't know that. And he was like, I bet you don't even know who drew that. And I was like, bro, I do not fucking care. Like, go away. Like, get out of my face. I know now, but yeah, I mean, those are the people, I mean, they can't enjoy anything because they hate themselves. And, that's fine. You do you, clown.
So for me personally, I'd say that Venom Let There Be Carnage is fresh out the podcast, but just, know what you're getting yourself into. I will talk about something else, another movie I watched that I would say is not fresh out the podcast, just from the top. Are y'all familiar with Dear Evan Hansen? Is this have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. So, for those that are unaware, Dear Evan Hansen is a Broadway musical from a few years ago.
Is Dear Evan Hansen married to Doe Evan Hansen?
That was a terrible joke.
No, it wasn't.
Terrible.
Do they have kids named Ray and me?
Oh no! Stop! Both of you, just stop.
And is there other kid?
Can I
named
mute you both?
Is there other kid named Bambi?
Stop! Please.
It wasn't good when you started it, Gary, and I just had to keep doing it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That was quality.
So, Dear Evan Hansen was a Broadway musical that kind of swept the Tonys the year that it was out. It won Best Musical at the Tonys, I believe, and Ben Platt won the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical for playing the lead role, Evan Hansen. And so naturally, as anything, any show that does really well on Broadway and is claimed, they did what they always do and said, well, let's make a film version of it. The plot of this movie, or excuse me, of the musical and the movie is a little bit problematic inherently, but let me preface this. I've seen the stage show. I enjoy the music. I enjoyed the show. It's deals with some heavy material though, and all of that stuff just did not translate well to the movie. So to give y'all a little insight here into the plot, it's a little tough to describe. So the title comes from Dear Evan Hansen, comes from Evan Hansen, a high school student who suffers from depression, anxiety,
Okay.
and has been assigned by his therapist to write letters to himself as part of his therapy. So the name Dear Evan Hansen comes from him, Dear Evan Hansen, writing letters to himself. One of these letters that he writes to himself gets taken by another student at the school who's also kind of a problem child, and later that student ends up taking his own life. And so the parents of that student find the letter on him, Dear Evan Hansen, and think that their son wrote a letter to the student Evan Hansen as his final words.
Gotcha.
And so the parents approach Evan about the relationship he had with their son, and instead of telling them the truth, he goes along with it. And the story kind of unfolds from there. So you can kind of see why, where this could take some issues, and not to go into too much about it and spoilers and all that, but I think the music in it is good, but there's just parts of this from the musical kind of plays out as a dark comedy, and the movie takes itself a lot more seriously, which makes it a little bit more problematic because characters just get away with truly heinous things in it. Just like emotional manipulation of people around them, So anyway, I like the songs. I liked the musical. The movie didn't work for me. It's also worth noting a lot of the dialogue around this movie in the film community is about how Ben Platt, who played the part on Broadway, was brought back to play this part in the movie. However, he's aged more from from then. So he's, I think, 27 or 28 years old playing a high school student. So, caked on makeup and longer hair to make him look younger, but he really does look like an almost 30-year-old that's playing a high schooler,
he looks way older than 30.
It is distracting in the movie. It wasn't as bad to me as I think other people are making it out to be, but it's definitely, they probably could have found someone for a film version that's better. And he's playing it like he played it on Broadway, which for a stage show, Gary, from acting, you have to play parts bigger because you're playing to
the back
your audience.
You got to play to the back of the arena. So your facial expressions need to be read at the back doors.
So when you're playing that, but when doing film acting,
I'm not even kidding, Jahan. That is exactly how stage acting's done. It is in a full overread. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It really is. They'll teach you that in stage theater. You need to be able to read it to the back. Yeah, there's no such thing as... I mean, if you're hamming it up for comedy, that's good too, because they need to be able to read that in the back.
Yep. So he's a little over the top. It comes across more psychotic in the movie than probably it's intended to, just because it's... it just was a little much. But there are going to be people, like, here's the thing is, for me, talking about it from a film criticism standpoint, I'd be interested to see how the general public is reacting to it, because this might play well to people that are unaware. Because I mean, it kind of, the movie plays with your emotions too. Like, it'll make you cry. You'll feel emotions in it because you can't help it. But then when you kind of realize what it's all about or what it's referring to, I think there are parts that are just a little problematic. So that's my stance on it. And then I'll talk about a couple other things really quick. Jon Stewart has a new show on Apple TV Plus called The Problem with Jon Stewart. So this is his return to TV after, several years off since he left The Daily Show. And it's a every 2 weeks, and it's topical. So he's hitting topics a little bit harder, I think, than he did on Daily Show. I was not an avid Daily Show watcher, so I can't sit here and compare the two, but there's one episode out as of now of The Problem with Jon Stewart. The topic is about war, and specifically the burn pits that are like in Afghanistan and Iraq and the other sites of these wars, and the issues that it causes for the soldiers and their health care or lack of health care once they get back. So it's some heavy topics in the show. So just, if you do decide to check this out, don't go thinking, there is some Jon Stewart comedy that's sprinkled throughout and some little skits or sketches, but for the most part, it's some pretty heavy topics. But I think the show has to kind of find its footing. But if you're a fan of Jon Stewart and you want to see him back on TV, there's a place for you now.
Yeah, I love Jon Stewart, and he tends to be really good at handling those heavy subjects and not make you want to die. So that's kind of his wheelhouse.
He does panel interviews, I guess, in the episodes. Again, there's only one episode, but it seems like this is something they'll be doing for future ones. But he has multiple veterans or folks that have been affected by this that are do kind of a roundtable discussion on the show. He does an interview with somebody who works for the VA, so he's doing interviews on location and things like that. So it's interesting from a production standpoint, because it's just different from what we've seen him do before. There've been hints of this that I think he started to find during the latter years of The Daily Show, and now this is a show kind of dedicated to that form of journalism.
Well, I mean, since he left The Daily Show, since 2001, he's been advocating for first responders that have been denied medical benefits from
9/11.
From 9/11, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's been very active in those hearings and that kind of thing. And I think he finally got them something. And I don't know, he's always been that guy. So
so I enjoyed the first episode. Again, it's heavy content, so just know that going into it. It's not all light and fluffy, but
so I like Last Week Tonight, which is John Oliver's version of probably something very similar, But there are episodes of Last Week Tonight that are a bit heavy for me also that I have to, turn it off or skip through. So I'm interested in this show. I may pass this first episode by and see what else he comes out with.
Yeah, I think luckily there's a description for each episode of what it's about. And this first one, I mean, truly, I thought it was going to be more about war in general. It's very specifically about burn pits that are set up. He even describes it as, obviously when you're at war in a foreign country, they don't tell you when trash day is and when trash is getting picked up. So they make burn pits where they put all their trash and human waste and all these different things and pour jet fuel over it and they burn it, and there's huge columns of smoke, and then and they're right next to these army bases, so all these soldiers are breathing in these fumes, so naturally there's going to be issues. So that's the kind of the crux of the episode and the main topic at hand for the first one. And yeah, it's a bit eye-opening, I think. So I'll be interested to watch more of his content.
On a related but much lighter note, did I ever tell you about the time my dad was on Last Week Tonight?
No.
Yeah, my dad was on Last Week Tonight. It was one of those and now when local news does Halloween or something like that, and they do a couple of clips of people in stupid costumes, and then it gets to one, my dad's there, and he dressed like a rabbit, and he's accusing he's like, "You made me wear this," to the reporter, and it's really funny. True
Please
story.
find that clip, upload it to the Fresh Out the Box YouTube channel.
I will.
And let us share that in the show notes, please.
I will have to do that, yeah.
I binged Jahan's dad dressed like a rabbit and didn't get any results, so
man, wow,
I'll have to go
I can't
do it.
believe
Maybe if I Google it, I'll have better results.
If it did come up, that would be insane.
I'd like just a footnote here. I recently read, and I'm not even fucking kidding you, that the EU reported that, or Bing reported to the EU that their number one search result, the number one thing searched in Bing, is Google. So it is true. It's happening. Sense. We're doing it. Don't forget to Bing Google today.
Yeah, don't forget. Hashtag Bing Google.
So the last thing that I will talk about that I've been watching recently is Survivor. I've talked on here before about how I'm a big reality TV fan, and Survivor is one of the shows that's at the top of that list. And during the pandemic, there's been a big break from Survivor. There was a season airing at the time the pandemic started, so that season, finished out, but they were not able to return to filming new seasons of Survivor until this past summer. So finally, we have a new season of Survivor that started just, I think, a little over 2 weeks ago, or around 2 weeks ago, and I'm just pumped to have Survivor back in my life. This is the 41st season of Survivor, believe it or not. And they used to have different subtitles or locations or whatever to describe each season, and they've done away with that in this new era of Survivor. It's just Survivor 41 and 42 and 43 and whatever the upcoming seasons will be, just numbered, as opposed to having all the different silly subtitles. But
yeah,
so far so good. I like the season so far.
I mean, I like Survivor
when
it first started coming out. Every now and again I'll watch it. It's entertaining. But recently, I like the host way more, because I saw a clip of someone, one of the contestants being transphobic, and he told them to shut the fuck up, and I was like, yeah, all right, I like this guy. It was cool.
So it's worth noting in the first episode of this new season of Survivor, one of the things that Jeff Probst has always said, whenever he brings in the cast for a challenge or whatever, is he always said, "Come on in, guys," and that's always what he's done from the first season. And he started off this season by saying, "Hey, I've always said this every season, but we want to evolve and adapt with the times and everything. So let me ask all of you, the current cast, does anybody have an issue with me saying, 'Come on in, guys,' or should I just say, 'Come on in'? Or, what are you okay with?" And initially they're like, yeah, that's fine, and then actually one of the cast members does come forward and say, you know what, I'd rather you not say that, and Jeff Probst's is like, cool, that's fine, then I won't say it, and goes from there. So I've always appreciated that about Survivor, is that they are quote unquote woke, if you will, but not in a not necessarily in a pandering way.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the very first winner of Survivor ever was gay, so.
Yes. Yep. So, anyway, I'm just happy to have Survivor back on my screen, and those are all the things I've been watching. As far as games go, I'll leave it to Gary because I'll have some commentary on something that he'll be talking about here in a bit.
How about you, John? Do you have anything before I go games? It looks like you have a long list.
I have some stuff I've watched and some stuff I'm excited for.
You've got shows, I've got games. So why don't you do your shows and then I'll do some games.
All right.
Looking in our show notes, I'm looking all the stuff that Jahan's watched, just stuff that I want to watch and just haven't gotten around to yet. So this should be fun.
Boy, oh boy. Let me get this visual up real quick. So I forgot that I'm going to talk about this, and now I'm all excited because it was an experience. But first on the docket, Star Wars Visions. Which I somehow didn't bring up. But yeah, Star Wars Visions on Disney Plus. What a treat for any fan of Star Wars or anime or both. Better if both, for sure. But man, oh man, the first episode is a banger. The second episode is interesting. I don't know, I got very strong, like, Fooly Cooly vibes. Maybe just because there's guitars, I don't know, but it was cool. Gary's shaking his head. Gary did not like the second
First episode was awesome, second episode was not, and I haven't watched any more from there.
I've seen all of them. There are 3 or 4 that are just way beyond anything I expected. I believe one of the episodes is called The Ninth Jedi, and I'm not going to do any spoilers. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. But that one needs to be a full series, period. It was amazing. Like, it was so good. And I don't know, because some of them, you can see they're handling Star Wars as anime. They're putting in all the stuff. You know, you always have lightsabers, you always have Force Jedi, everything. It's always the same things. That one, I feel, I don't know, like the mythology felt like it was its own, even though it was Star Wars lore and there were lightsabers. It felt like they owned it.
That's how I felt about the first episode too.
The first episode was dope. And there's been, I've heard that people have been complaining, like, you shouldn't mix, Star Wars. Why is there, you putting this Asian culture in here, blah, blah, blah. And, then they showed the interview of George Lucas saying that his inspiration for Star Wars was like old samurai movies. And then, boom, it's come full circle. It's here, and I think it's beautiful.
I was going to say, like, inspiration for Star Wars is like some really classic Japanese films.
Not even subtly. Like, it is obvious. Yeah, absolutely.
The first episode is like a lone Ronin samurai, and it's almost like a Samurai Jack type of vibe. Once things get going, he go hard, and the episode is it's done in a really neat style that's maybe not great, but certainly neat. And it's just it comes in swinging, man. It's really a cool episode, really adult episode, not in a grotesque way, but like, I mean, we're the target demographic for that, not little kids on the first episode.
No, definitely.
The second episode is way more targeted towards kids.
The second episode I liked, and my brother watched it with me, and he was tripping. He was like, "What the fuck?" Because that was the one he walked in on, and he did not know what was going on, and he liked it. But yeah, and then also, it's I don't know. There's just a lot going on here. I've heard some of my favorite female podcasters and like talkers like Kyla Rem and Jay Stubes talk about the girl power in this and how it's actually done really well too, because they talk about the high heels specifically that the women wear, and that they're not done for to please the male gaze. They are done to show power, and I thought that was really cool as well, because the high heels are always like showing how badass the character is and not trying to make them look sexy, which I thought was cool. It was a cool point. That was Star Wars Visions. I loved it. If you haven't seen it yet, you're in for a treat. I wish I could watch it for the first time again.
You want us to call that one Certified Fresh Out the Podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
having only seen 2 episodes and liking one and not liking the other one, I'll still call it Fresh Out the Podcast.
The next one, I don't know what to say about this next one. I watched all
You
of
started
Midnight.
laughing before it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I watched all of Midnight Mass. I like vampires and that kind of stuff. I love everything that has to do with creatures of the night and that kind of shit. I love it. This has to do with vampires very closely, and I need to emphasize this, very closely tied into Catholicism. And like every episode has like 2 masses where people are going to church. There's no less than like 100 Bible verses quoted during this show. And like there's too much of it, I feel. They do a lot of interesting stuff with the lore of Christianity mixed with vampires. It's kind of interesting, but I feel like they go too hard on their religion, and the show is slow. It is a long edging process to an unsatisfactory finish, in my opinion.
Oh, that's too bad. The show is created and directed by Mike Flanagan, who he's kind of become real well known in the horror, film community recently because he did one of the Ouija movies, Ouija Origin of Evil, but then he did Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep, which Doctor Sleep's the sequel to The Shining.
Yeah.
And he just seemed to have a really good handle on Stephen King and the tone of Stephen King horror. And then, of course, Netflix subscribers will know The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, which are the shows that he did in there. So this was highly anticipated by a lot of people, I think. And,
I would like to clarify, though, for sure. The writing is very good. The acting is good. The subject matter gets to me personally. It's a lot of Catholicism being thrown at you. And it is a very slow build. The very last episode has some pretty cool moments. I don't feel like the ending's the best. But, I mean, it does end, and you do kind of get what you're waiting for at the end of everything. I will say that. But man, I don't know. I don't know if I would, watch it if you're interested, for sure. I'm not going to give it certified status, though.
I'll probably check it out at some point, honestly, because I'm a fan of Mike Flanagan. The only reason I haven't is just because I feel like this came out last week, right?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing in a week, yeah.
I just feel like there's been so much to watch and so many things to choose from in the past couple weeks that when it came out, I'm just like, I just can't even get to this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with, spoiler alert for something you'll talk about a little later, but Squid Game. That's like the show that everybody's talking about
that
right now.
That show
too.
is a global phenomenon.
Yeah, and I've heard it's incredible, and I just have not had the time. I just haven't been able to even touch it yet. So those are both on my list.
While I'm not going out of my way to say Midnight Mass was fire, I will say I had to watch all of it in a week. So I couldn't stop watching it. It had me hooked. I don't know. Maybe I liked it more than I'm willing to admit. I don't know. But it has some genuinely cool stuff, but I feel like some of the character development is underwhelming and blah blah, that kind of stuff. I'm being nitpicky. Maybe watch it. But if you want a vampire all out brawl, this is not that movie or show. Yeah. So my next show. So What If has been fire. I haven't seen the latest episode. The last one I saw was Party Thor. Did you guys see that one?
So
I'm still behind. I've still only watched the first 2 episodes of What If. I'm embarrassed as a Marvel fan to say.
Just the other day, I went through and turned on What If and started watching a bunch of episodes, and that show's all over the place. Some are good, some are bad, some I don't even give a half of a shit about.
Yeah.
So now that there are enough, when that show first came out, I would have said this show is certified fresh out the podcast. This is fresh as hell. You got to watch it. Now I'm to the point where it's like, man, open up the season and see which ones you think sound cool, because the ones that you're not interested in aren't interesting.
That's fair. That's fair. I was interested in all of them. I like all of them. I definitely like some much more than others. But all of them I definitely am happy I saw, and they had some cool ideas. I actually felt like the first couple episodes weren't what I was hoping for necessarily, although they had some truly cool ideas. And I hear the latest episode was out of control.
I would
I've
like
heard
to
good things about the recent one too.
I
think
would
it's an
like to
Ultron
see
one.
Yeah.
the What If Star Wars. That's been announced, right? Is that rumored or announced?
I think it's rumored. I don't know if
It's
been
just
announced.
rumored.
I would love
So-
it.
It's not official.
So I would like to see that. I would rather see some Star Wars What Ifs than Marvel What Ifs, just because of what they did. I think wasn't necessarily that interesting to me. I think Star Wars would do some really cool, interesting stuff, though.
Yeah, Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is a great IP, and yeah, when I was watching Visions, it felt kind of like Death, Love, and Robots to me a little bit. Like everything was different style, different story, very cool. What If is not like that, because Visions was like a collaboration, a love letter to Star Wars from artists. You know, that's not what If is. What If it's like trying to answer all the FAQs from nerds that sent messages to Stan Lee over the year? What if? That kind of thing. I like What If, though. So I'm going to quickly talk about, because it's going to lead into one of my last things. I watched the animated movie on Netflix, The Witcher Season of the Wolf. It was actually pretty good. It gave me some Castlevania vibes, which they've been trying to redo. They've been trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle that Castlevania was. I feel like they got a little bit of that in that bottle. It was cool. I love The Witcher. I love the lore. It deals with young Vesemir, who is Geralt's mentor in the games. And they don't really talk about him in the show much. But in the movie, it's cool to get to see where that happened, and it kind of deals with the transition from the time where there were many Witchers to the time where there weren't. And it's cool. A lot of lore in there. I recommend you watch it. And that brings me to upcoming shows. I don't know if either of you are excited for either of these shows, but I cannot wait for Season 2 of The Witcher, coming out later this year, I believe in December. And also Lock and Key Season 2. So fire. Lock and Key blew me out of the water, man. That show was awesome.
I actually haven't watched it, but it does look interesting. I've watched the trailers a couple of times. It just not yet. I haven't started it yet.
I remember the first season kind of snuck out and
It did.
got positive word of mouth, but I just never jumped into it.
If you're gonna watch something, watch that. That is worth the time. It's so cool. It's so good. I feel like it's a lot of new stuff that hasn't really been done recently. I don't know. It's got its own lore. It's very beautiful. It's got that. It is described as Lovecraftian kind of feel, and I definitely see that. There's some truly interesting concepts they work with, and it's cool. It's cool stuff. I can't wait for those 2 seasons. Finally, though, I've only watched the first episode, so don't worry for spoilers if you haven't seen the global phenomenon that is Squid Games. I know my mom and my brother cannot stop watching it. I've only seen the first episode, and it was awesome. It was badass. It gives you it's got kind of like that Battle Royale feel. It's got kind of that, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
It's Battle Royale mixed with Saw, except it's very pretty and artful.
Yes, that's not a bad way to describe it. It's a Korean show that is currently #1 on Netflix. And if you'll recall, last time we were talking about the streaming wars, I said about Netflix, to their credit, I said they put international and foreign media in front of a global audience. and it's so cool. And this is a great example of that succeeding for them and for all of us, that we get to see this cool thing.
You've watched this too, Gary?
So I had a hard time actually watching it. There's some pretty gruesome stuff, and the concept's pretty gruesome. So I thought the story was really cool, and luckily it is dubbed and subbed. So you can either watch it in Korean, read the subtitles, or you can listen to it in English. So I laid on the couch and played auto chess on my phone, and would watch and play auto chess and watch it and come back to my phone. But Annie binge watched the entire thing. And I would say that this is the kind of show that you either haven't seen it or you have binge watched the entire thing, with the exception of Jahan, who's only seen one episode. But the show, it sucks you in. It's hard to stop watching. And like I said, it's Saw and Battle Royale, but pretty. And then on top of that, there's something going on. You just know as a viewer that there's something going on.
And there's something up. And like, so that's another reason why, like, no spoilers. If you haven't
really
seen it, there's
hard.
something up. Yeah.
And it's the choice of music helps a lot, and they do a lot of cool things.
The music's great.
It's eerie, and there is something up the whole time. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? And it keeps you coming back.
The little girl playing Red Light, Green Light in the first episode, the robot, that has art, like that sound of her saying those words has become like a thing on TikTok. I actually saw one of those robots in front of like a business in Korea, like, and it moved and talked and stuff, and people were messing with it. It was so cool, man. But yeah, if you haven't watched this, it's seriously a global phenomenon. You're missing out on like being able to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say the word of mouth on this show. It's one of those that it kind of feels like regardless of if you want to watch it, you just kind of need to if you want to even keep up with the conversation, because it just seems like this is one that everybody's watching or will have watched. So yeah, I will. I'm gonna try to jump into this. Like I said before, it's just I would have normally, but I haven't been able to find the time yet.
Yeah, me too.
Let's talk about some video games.
We do have a minute, yeah, to talk about video games.
Some Game Pass stuff dropped. Drew was talking about that earlier. One of the big shining moments for Game Pass has been Marvel Avengers, which just popped out. And when this game came out, I think 2 years ago.
No, a year ago.
1 year ago.
They're celebrating their 1 year anniversary.
Got shit on, and I didn't play it at the time. I was able to pick it up 2 weeks ago for $20, and then of course it came to Game Pass for free.
I was gonna say you did the Game Pass curse. This is something that's always talked about on Reddit. A game goes on sale, you paid it $20 for it. You did everybody you did the Lord's work for everyone, right? Because you got cursed, you paid money for it, and then a week later it comes on Game Pass.
It has happened to me like 3 or 4 times. So I'm one of the Game Pass curse guys. Just watch what I buy for $20, and it's coming. I don't regret spending $20 on this game. I played it for 2 weeks, almost every day, and it was worth $20. And when it goes off of Game Pass, I will still own it, and it'll still be worth $20. It is a beat 'em up. It's 3D action adventure. You play as Marvel superheroes, and it's accessible. It's fun. You smash buttons, and you beat the shit out of bad guys. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing tricky going on in this game. It's got collectibles. It's got really simple puzzles. And if you and your friends want to play superheroes and beat the shit out of people, this is certified fresh out the podcast.
Yeah, I got to play this with Gary a little bit since he got it, and it's a really fun game to just be able to play with your friend and just shoot the shit and enjoy it. I will say it has a campaign that I just completed the campaign actually today, and I really enjoyed the campaign. I thought it was really fun, but I can see where some of the complaints of people who picked this up a year ago, where they might be coming from, because you do the main campaign missions, but there are some of the kind of more generic missions that you can pick up and play and you can do along the campaign, which is essentially the end game content.
Yes.
And a lot of those missions do get, you start seeing the same environments and the same goals, destroy these turbines or rescue this person or just defeat all the enemies in this area, which I get it, that can get repetitive and the enemy selection isn't crazy.
And I
But like,
think when the game came out, it only had 6 characters, right? And maybe just 5. And it had 2 or 3 less campaigns. So now it has extra stories and it has extra characters and extra gear. And we got it for cheap or for free. So I'm sorry if you paid 60 for it. I can see why you were mad, but it now, if you could pick it up for 20, you could pick it up for Game Pass. Pick this game up, man. It's dope. This is its second life, and I think it's going to do a good job with its resurrection.
I did have fun.
The way I look at it is like, yeah, if the game's going to be grindy or repetitive, at least you're doing it as Thor or the Hulk or
Right?
Captain America, as opposed to, something more boring.
So I don't have a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money.
No.
So paying full price for a game is usually a no-go for me. But there hasn't been a Hulk game since Maximum Destruction. And if you just want to play a Hulk game for $20, Marvel Avengers is a great Hulk game for $20. You can just Hulk smash the shit out of everything, and it's $20 worth of fun. And so at that point, every other character is just icing on the cake, because it's just a fun Hulk game if that's what you want, and it's just a fun Thor game if that's what you want.
I thought it was really cool. This game has something that not a lot of games have: a playable Muslim character, and that's super dope. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is she's getting her own show on Disney Plus. She is a Muslim girl from New Jersey. Super dope. I played as her. I thought that was really cool. You never get to play as brown people,
The campaign is also mostly through her eyes too.
Yeah, the campaign follows a Muslim girl from New Jersey.
That's
the
other
awesome.
thing I was going to say. As you guys know, it's well documented. I pretty much only fucks with the multiplayer and the co-op. But this game, I'm actually like 87% through the main solo campaign. This is the first single-player campaign that I have played in years and years and years, and I've been enjoying it. Sometimes that your character locked and you have to play a certain person at a certain time, and I don't necessarily love that. But the actual storyline is a good Marvel storyline. It's compelling. It's a good story.
It is. It really is.
Other than that, on Game Pass this week, I have been talking about this game for like 12 or 13 weeks. 9/28, Limnis Gate. I don't know if you guys remember the rhyme, but that's how I remembered not to forget what day it came out. So on 9/28, I was waiting for Limnis Gate, and this game is fucking bonkers, baby. It is a first-person shooter that is turn-based. So, say Drew goes, and his job is to go attack the objective. He needs to blow it up. So Drew goes, he walks over, he blows up the objective. Then it's my turn, and I go. And while I'm going, Drew's guy's ghost is still out there, and he runs up, and before he can blow up the objective, I shoot him in the head. So now Drew goes again, and he goes and kills my guy that killed his guy, and then I go again. But all of the characters stay in the time loop, and they do the same thing every time. And after you die, you kind of go into a ghost mode, because just because you got killed this round doesn't mean you'll get killed in the future. So after you die, you can still like shoot at stuff and move around, and you'll find yourself just like blasting an empty hallway or shooting down a straightaway and hoping that enemies will stumble into your fire in a few rounds and it will cost them dearly.
Yeah, it is fourth dimensional combat. It is awesome.
That sounds cool. It kind of made my brain hurt. I feel like I have to see it.
It makes my brain hurt. We had to stop playing last night because it was triggering my anxiety.
So it's also, I forgot to say that each round you play as like a different champion, as a different hero who have different weapon loadouts.
Yes.
So if you play as the rocket launcher guy in round 1, you don't get to play as him again. You already used rocket launcher guy. So there's like a cool strategy in the end of the round where you can come out as the sniper and use his slow time ability and blat all their guys in the head all the way across
before they
the
can
map.
do what they did, and then
All of the work that they did, everything that they thought they were going to stop you from doing, you just finish it in the final round with a sniper, and you just waste their entire like 12 minutes they spent trying to do objectives. The game is great. It has awful matchmaking issues. just like every game that is released nowadays. I don't know what you have to do in college to become a network engineer or a software network engineer that makes video games work, but I swear that job has got to be the most fucking easy job besides meteorologist. Besides guessing the fucking weather, these guys just fuck off and don't make anything work ever. I just
He's not wrong. Yeah, we're furious.
every single game that comes out has shit matchmaking. What the fuck?
Yeah, the past few Game Pass multiplayer games have not had functioning multiplayer, and that is an issue, Xbox. If you are listening, what the fuck?
Listen to this about Limnus Gate. This is not a one-time mistake. This is a consistent error after every single match. We hit next game. Yeah. It kicks me back out to the lobby without Jahan in my lobby. It puts him in a solo game. When I invite him, it makes him join my game and immediately puts him in a public game queue and doesn't put me in one. So then he has to quit the public game queue and then leave my game again and then be re-invited. Every time.
Yeah. Every single time it does the exact same thing. It automatically loads me into a queue.
Like, it's not a mistake.
Yeah,
it's a big... There is a fix for that. There's someone out there who's not doing their fucking job. There's a fix for that. It's the same problem. Okay, finally. I got one game left. I know I'm running over on time, and I apologize. But I would like to talk about the Dune tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah.
We sat down with it. We read it. We've been talking about Modiphius for a while. We finally were able to do our session 0 this past week on our web show, Fresh Out the Box, that we do on twitch.tv/Johananon. We played tabletop role-playing games and board games and stuff over there. But on Wednesday, we were doing our Dune campaign. We did our session 0, where we built our house. And we met brand new people we've never streamed with before, but the house is awesome. So we're an artistic house / assassin house. And everyone picked different roles within that house. So I'm the War Master, and I have an intangible item, which is a group of veteran soldiers. So where most tabletop role-playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons or such, you are an adventuring party and you have a sword or a shield. This one, you are the head of a royal house. What you have isn't just like a stick, and you're not walking around, fighting things in the desert. You are trying to command an empire. There's lots of backstabbing. You have control over non-player characters as a player character.
So a lot more than usual, yeah.
Yeah, you have some NPC control, and you can control the world in some really cool and interesting ways. I love what I'm seeing on this tabletop role-playing game. It is the tabletop role-playing game of the year. From the Enix, and I think people should pick it up. If you like tabletop role-playing games, if you like Dune, I think you should pick this game up. It's
also,
cool.
There's a chance that we might be doing giveaways of this during the Wednesday stream, so tune in and you might be able to win a book. We haven't solidified that with Modiphius yet. But
for Dune fanboys, I would say there's a cool thing about this book in that it makes the lore really digestible.
Yes.
From what I have read about Dune and going onto Wikipedia and trying to click through the different timelines and read about Dune is almost mind-numbing. It's almost painful.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
But this book breaks it down in awesome chapters, and it just gives you the meat and potatoes of what you need to play with the lore, and not all the extra loose line bullshit. It's really a cool thing if you're just a Dune fan.
Yeah.
I enjoy the Dune book, but sometimes reading parts of it can be somewhat of a chore just because the lore can be a little bit difficult to understand or digest. Because it's
Zabba
not...
Zabba with the Kurili Yaya. Yeah, nonsense.
There is an appendix in the back of the book, like a glossary that you could... But, I mean... You don't want to be reading a book and literally flipping to the back of it every couple pages. It can, get a little tiring.
Yeah, that's
so you kind of just have to move through
well,
it.
if you're doing that, then you're playing a tabletop role-playing game and not reading a book.
Right, exactly.
That's it, man. That's all I've got for this week. Next week, I'd like to talk about more of my Wu-Tang. I'd like to talk about Ted Lasso, maybe what we do in the shadows. Since it's October, we could talk about spooky shows and what people want to see for the Halloween season. So I'm looking forward to next week, man. What do you guys have anything big on your plate for next week?
We will be talking James Bond next week to
Oh, shit.
Coincide with the release of finally, after this movie's been delayed like 4 or 5 times, we finally have seen No Time to Die, the newest James Bond movie, or I will have seen it because I go to the movies.
And you said Tom Hardy's James Bond, right?
No, it's not the case. But yeah, so tune in next time to hear us talk about Bond and all the other things that Gary had just listed. For me personally, you can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, at Drew's Blues on TikTok. Where can people find y'all?
I am at RockFact on Twitter and Johannanon1 on TikTok. You can also follow us on YouTube at Fresh Out the Box, links in the bio, and twitch.tv/Johannanon for our live events and giveaways.
And I'm Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG pretty much everywhere where I exist. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to see more board games and more tabletop games, come by, see me and Jahan, see what we're doing. It's fun. We have fun. It's a good time.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and have a fresh evening.
Trash out the box! Fresh out the box.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Johanan, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
Casualty CDG, a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and it's always tough doing my intro going after Gary because Gary is so big and boisterous, and it's just really hard to follow. and be on that same level.
Look, I would go last, except that you're more responsible, and then you usually lead us into a topic. If I went last, I would just keep talking until someone told me to stop.
We're allowed to tell you to stop?
You are not. Drew's here to tell us both to fucking stop.
It's fair. That is the reason Drew's here.
The title for this episode should be Podcast. James Podcast. See what I did there? Because I took out Bond and I put podcast there instead.
Okay, I didn't get it, but now I really get it this time.
Yeah, I don't know James Podcast.
The name's Podcast. Fresh out the podcast.
Oh shit! Are you talking about James the Rock Johnson?
Oh man, I forgot about James the Rock Johnson.
So this weekend, there a highly anticipated movie, the next installment in the James Bond franchise, was released. It's Daniel Craig's swan song as James Bond. It seems like he's done with the character after this. I see Gary shaking his head. I'm assuming that's because you're not a big Bond head.
I just don't care. I don't care.
Well, a lot of other people do because... So here's the thing. I brought this up and we get a little game here. James Bond is the 6th highest grossing movie franchise of all time.
Huh.
So that includes every James Bond movie, which that's 27 films, right? Have made it the 6th highest grossing franchise ever.
That's weird.
I wanted to see if
I didn't even realize there were that many men over 50.
So I wanted to see if y'all could guess some of the other franchises that are above Bond.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious is actually number 7.
Come on, baby!
Bond. What about?
Oh, it's on the list though.
Harry Potter.
Oh, that's a good one.
The Wizarding, it's just this is going according to Wikipedia for the record. Yes, the Wizarding World, which includes all the Harry Potter movies as well as the
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts. Yeah, that's number 3.
Boom! I'm winning.
Number 1's kind of a cheat code.
I mean, Avengers, right? All day.
So this is where the cheat code is. Number 1 is the MCU, right?
Yeah.
So that includes
Okay,
all of
makes
it.
sense.
But then that doesn't keep the individual franchises within the MCU from also being on this list.
That's dumb.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia. So MCU is number 1, but yet Avengers, as you said, specifically Avengers, is number 4. Number 2 should be a given, though.
Number 2 is a given. It's not Fast and the Furious.
Come on, guys.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. That's a good one.
No, it's number 10.
Avatar.
Middle Earth is number 10. No.
Oh, but Avatar will take that as soon as the sequel comes out.
I don't think any of us will be alive to see that.
Avatar will probably enter
We
into the top 25 when the second movie comes out for sure. Just based off the first one alone.
No.
But no, come on, guys, come on.
I know that everyone at home is screaming at the podcast right now all the different series that they think it might be. So I'm just, how about everyone wants me to say X-Men? I don't believe it's X-Men, but they wanted me to say it.
Guys,
look, I don't. That's not my choice. People are screaming it at me. Everyone's screaming it.
Between the MCU and Harry
Y'all
Potter.
should have gotten this answer a long time ago.
Look, everyone in
a galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
The Matrix. Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
I know that particularly Blake is at home like, what the shit? How did you not say Star Wars?
It's hard when you're on the spot, Blake.
MCU, Star Wars, the Wizarding World, Avengers, and actually Spider-Man is number 5. So, but that includes, the Tobey movies, the Garfield movies, and the Holland
Oh
movies. So
God!
there you go.
Oh God! When you said the Garfield movies, I did not think about the Andrew Garfield movies.
No, not A Tale of Two Kitties or whatever the first one is.
The Spider-Man includes the Garfield movie. It's in the same canon universe.
And then Bond is 6, Fast and Furious is 7, X-Men is actually 8. I know you mentioned that. Batman
God,
is
people
9.
were yelling at me to say it.
And Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings, and the Hobbit movies are number 10. So there you go.
We did name almost everything else on that list.
Yeah, of course, the list. This shows the top 25, but it includes everything that you would expect. The DC extended universe, Jurassic Park, Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbean.
See, how people gonna make fun of nerds and then watch all our damn movies? Like, what the hell?
Despicable Me, number 15 on this list, which is higher than Mission Impossible, Shrek, Twilight, Ice Age, Toy Story, The Hunger Games, Frozen,
Wow,
The
that's
Lion King,
surprising.
Superman,
Wow, yeah,
and
man.
Iron Man.
My question was going to be, is it higher than Toy Story? And yeah, you answered that. It is higher than Toy Story. I'm surprised.
Toy Story's number 20 on this list.
Damn, that's great.
And what's interesting is it tells the amount of films in each franchise, and Frozen and The Lion King are both in the top 25, but yet only have 2 entries. So
yeah, that's impressive.
And Lion King 2 should not count.
Did that even have a theatrical release?
I think it's actually referring to the Lion King, the animated one, and then the newer live action one. I think is what it's referring
Makes sense.
to.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
Live action in quotes, because it's really just animated too.
Yeah, animated.
Well, Garrett, y'all obviously were making some jokes about Bond and how Bond maybe caters to the older watcher. Is that what you were saying earlier?
Pushy galore.
I think Jahan pretty much knocked that out of the park. This
is a movie meant to be enjoyed in a recliner whilst wearing Crocs and socks.
Let me ask you a question, Drew. Let me answer your question with a question. Is your dad gonna go see this movie?
Oh, for sure. Unquestionably.
Nah, James Bond's a dad movie. I don't know. They're fine. I like some of Daniel Craig's. I haven't seen all of them, really. I don't know. It feel like it's not the same as it was. I grew up with Pierce Brosnan, and obviously the 64 game. So that was my James Bond experience, and those movies were fine.
When I was a kid, we used to, for just a brief moment, we would do family movie night, except then it just became, my dad didn't want to watch what the rest of the family was watching night, so I used to rent James Bond movies as a kid, and I used to watch them. They were way over my head and, way before my time, but I had some infatuation with James Bond, and I really liked Goldeneye the video game, not Goldeneye the movie. And I think that Daniel Craig is a very cool, actiony, whoop that ass James Bond, and surprisingly is a believable ass kicker. And I know that there were once upon a time whispers of maybe Idris Elba being James Bond, and then that got shit canned, I think. But I'd like to see that. I'd watch an Idris Elba Bond film. But I'm good with Daniel Craig. He can go on and get.
Yeah. So you talked about GoldenEye, the video game. I think that was actually my first exposure to Bond. I think I played that game before I had ever seen a single Bond movie. But I did go see, I think, all the other Pierce Brosnan ones and all the Craig ones I've seen in theaters or whatever. I've always gone to see. You joked, but I think most of them I've probably seen with my father. He is a big Bond fan, of course. He is a. Let's see, his favorite Bond, of course, is Sean Connery. That has to be his favorite. I don't even know why he hesitated there. Yeah, Connery's got to be his favorite. I actually have the now on Blu-ray, I have the full James Bond collection of all the movies, and so one day I'm gonna have to go through and watch them all. I've seen Doctor No, some of the old ones, but that's really it. My Bond history is lacking. Like pretty much all of them that have come out in my lifetime, I've gone to see, but I haven't really done the homework to go back and watch all the old ones. We have a friend, Connor, who's extremely invested in Bond. He's a huge Bond fan, and I know he's probably screaming at us about this too, and also that we didn't ask him to be a guest on a Bond discussion. But, that's his issue.
I went back and watched the Bond that had, was it George Lazenby? Is that his name? I went back and watched that one, which I think is universally hailed as being one of the worst. And
I think he only did one.
Yes. And I think, isn't it the worst? Don't people hate it?
I'm not really sure of how it's what its reputation is, but I think it's one of the more forgotten ones.
I believe is his name. So and I might be getting the story wrong, I might be dumb, so don't go and tell people that I'm right because you heard it on my podcast. Go look it up. But I think it's George Lazenby, and I believe that he was Australian, and he was the first non-English, well, I mean, there was Sean Connery, but he was the first non-UK guy to take the role.
Yeah, watch out for that hate mail, buddy.
He was terrible, and everyone hated him, and he thought he was hot shit, and thought he could springboard off of Bond and become the best guy in the world, but he sucks, and he was arrogant and terrible, and they never made another Bond movie, and his career went to shit. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig said something not so great recently. He was saying that there could never be a female Bond, and I don't understand that, I guess. You're
that's
saying, but you
that's
can't
because
write.
Girls aren't named James.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But to say that,
I think a lot of that, I mean, this is an assumption. I don't know. I would think a lot of that probably stems from the Bond estate. It's based off of books or series of stories, and I think that they're very particular about how Bond is used and portrayed. The Broccoli family, I believe, is their name. So
interesting.
Great friends of the cheese and rice family.
No. Oh boy. But yeah, no, I don't know. He said something not so great. Maybe it was a reference to what you're talking about. It's possible that he meant legally it can't be or something. I don't know. I just heard that he said that and was disappointed. Yeah, because I mean, it's just, why can't a girl be a spy? I don't know. They make good spies historically. There's precedent. I don't know. But I forget, what was the one before this, Drew?
Spectre.
I don't think I saw
Is that what you're talking about? The movie, the most recent Bond movie before No Time to Die?
I don't think I saw that one. I think I saw the one before that. What's
Yeah,
the
so
one where
there's-
they go to the house with the exploding
That's
light
Skyfall.
bulbs? That was the last one I saw. And fucking Adele was getting it. I hear that Billie Eilish is going to be getting it this time, though.
Yes. That song is out, and I think I'm noted before that it's been delayed several times. This movie, No Time to Die, I think, was originally supposed to come out in April of 2020, and it was one of the first movies to get pushed because of the pandemic, and it ended up getting pushed like a few times. I think it got pushed from April back to the fall, and then from the fall back to the spring, and the spring to the summer, and then the summer back to the fall winter.
Yeah,
again.
it got the COVID shuffle treatment. Yeah.
Here we are. It's been released internationally, and this weekend it was released domestically. So it's out. It's official. This has happened. People are seeing this movie.
I hope Billie Eilish just remixed "Bad Guy" and replaced the words with James Bond. Cause he's James Bond. Duh. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's all I can do. 3 seconds, right?
Well, I was just curious to see where y'all were at on Bond. If you secretly were like a diehard Bond fan or not. I will say for me also the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies were. I'd go see them in theaters, but like I'd see it and then it would just evaporate from my brain. I don't really remember much of those, but the Daniel Craig Bond movies did have a tone of being more serious and just, I don't know, I took them more seriously, I guess, and especially with the last few, I feel like a new Bond movie coming out is much more of an event than maybe it was back in different Bond eras.
The movies have come a long way, and he is a good Bond, and the sequences are badass, everything's epic, they have cool bad guys, it's good stuff, it is, but quoting a man from last week, it seems like junk food for your brain. So, I mean, it's good, and I might go watch Spectre, and I might watch this. They do seem fun, and Casino Royale, I didn't even know you could torture testicles like that. Like, now I know, you know what I mean? I learned a whole new genital torture method, so that's exciting, I guess. But
I think while we're talking about Bond, it's also good for us to talk about Triple X, which is kind of like the American version of James Bond, if you're not familiar. The first one, of course, starring...
That's where you were going. That's
the first one, of course, starring the great American Vin Diesel. The second
as Xander Cage, right?
The second is the banger follow-up with Ice Cube, and of course, the third one has both Ice Cube and Vin Diesel.
What?
So it's really action-packed. You're really getting your money's worth out of that.
They made one after State of the Union? I didn't even know.
Also, honorable mention to Mission Impossible, which is also American James Bond.
And the next one will be the first movie shot in space.
Boy. What else? What are there other...
That's legitimate. I'm not kidding.
Is the Triple X Hive clamoring for a new entry in the Triple X franchise?
Yeah, I actually heard Pierce Brosnan was thinking about playing Xander Cage.
Oh boy.
God, if he shaved his head and got all buff, that would be hilarious, because he's super old now.
It'd be better if he shaved his head and didn't get all buff.
Were you asking earlier, John, for other Bond similar franchises or movies? Is that what you're saying?
No. Yeah, and then I thought that was me, and then I thought of maybe the Bourne series.
Yeah, Bourne for sure has some Bond-isms. I would say also Tenet, Christopher Nolan's most recent movie that has kind of the weird time manipulation, but it has some very Bond-esque characters.
That movie does some cool stuff, and it's visually amazing.
I just wanted to honorably shout out all the movies that are most certainly Bond ripoffs that failed and won't ever be Bond. Mission Impossible didn't necessarily fail. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, baby!
Ooh, Austin Powers.
Mission Impossible is based off of a TV series that I don't remember when that first aired. I'm not sure if it was Bond or not.
Yeah, and the first Mission Impossible was not dope, and then the rest of them were all dope.
Speaking of Mission
Impossible,
one
rules. The first one rules. It's Brad De Palma, and it's good. And then the second one is not good. And then the other ones are all okay.
Don't you dare talk shit about the one where Metallica made the music, and there's a motorcycle chase scene, and a Dove release, and dual pistols. Don't you dare talk shit about
That's John Woo.
Shit. Yes, sir. Don't talk shit about Mission Impossible 2.
Speaking of Mission Impossible, this isn't even my real face.
Oh man, he's been bamboozling us for 14 weeks. If you guys at home can't see, he just ripped off his face, and he's been an Asian woman with one of those throat things on the whole time.
Wow.
Yes, I am a woman.
This is why you have to tune in to maybe.
All along.
This is where we go off the rails once again, guys. How do we manage to do this every time? It's really impressive.
Mental illness.
Can I guess does that bring our Bond talk to a close, Drew, or do you want to talk about throwing hats at stuff?
Well, actually, no, yeah. So it does for the most part, or again, similar to last week with our Venom episode, it kind of leads directly into our fresh out the podcast takes, because I watched a like a short, I guess you'd call it a documentary in a way. It's called Being James Bond. It's on Apple TV. You can rent this. I don't know if Apple TV is the only place you can rent it, but you can rent it for free. It's not like part of Apple TV Plus. It's just on there to rent, but it's free. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, it makes sense. It's like I don't know why it's so funny to me, but it's like when you go to the Xbox game store and like Fortnite's free. It's not part of Game Pass. It's not part of the subscription service. It's just there and also free. Like, I get what you're saying. I just don't know why I think it's so funny in that format.
So it's
free
called
rental.
So this is called Being James Bond. It's only about 45 minutes long, but it's just it shows behind the scenes footage of Daniel Craig filming the Bond movies over time. And it starts, with the reactions to him being cast and him looking back on that and the, kind of what the tabloids were saying then, and then to how the movies were received and just his experience working on them. So it's literally just Daniel Craig, Michael Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, who are producers. They're just speaking about their experience and just kind of looking back on all the movies. I kind of wanted to watch this leading up to the new film coming out because I wanted to rewatch the Daniel Craig ones before the new one, and again, just haven't had the time. And so, but I did watch this, and it's a nice little 45-minute refresher just on, a little bit of Daniel Craig's history as Bond and seeing snippets from each movie. And so from that standpoint, it was worth watching. But you never even see the talking heads of Daniel Craig or these producers speaking. It's literally just voiceover and showing never before seen behind the scenes footage. But it is on Apple TV to rent for free. So that's how I watched it.
It's even stupid the second time.
I wish it was 30 seconds and they ask him what it's like being James Bond. He's like, it's all right, and just that's it.
And then the credits roll.
That's it. He's like, it's not bad. Hit him with that British reserve.
Best boy. There's just all these fucking credits for that for the 10-second spot.
Well, speaking of Apple TV, I just feel like that, we talked about this in the streaming wars. I think that they're going to have better content coming out, and eventually they'll be more of a force, but I think their streaming numbers are far lacking behind the other services. That being said, I'm just going to dedicate myself to being like the #1 Apple TV Plus fan and just watch all of their shows and stan all of them and be the only person that talks about them. Everybody talks Ted Lasso, of course, but like, what about everything else? So, speaking of, my next thing is there's a new sci-fi show.
I wanted to talk about that too while you're on Apple Plus and being a stan. I went and watched that LuLaRoe thing that you had watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked bad. And then also...
Wait, are you saying the documentary itself sucked or just the content, what it was about, sucked?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. The documentary was actually shot pretty well. Those people just sucked. And it's hard to keep watching that series. Those people suck so fucking bad, and they don't know how fucking bad they suck.
Yes.
They think that they are. No, they don't. They think they're awesome. And the people around them think that they're awesome too, and they all fucking suck. And
like that,
I also
like that kid that jacked up the price for insulin.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to say you can't talk about Apple TV without mentioning Ted Lasso, and right before I was able to say it, you mentioned Ted Lasso. We haven't caught anybody up on Ted Lasso in a while. Do you want to get to that, or is there a time for it here and now?
So we can. The problem is that at the time that we're recording this episode, the season finale has not come out yet. At the time that this episode of the podcast drops, the finale will be out. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll be late talking about the finale regardless, but we can talk about what we've seen pre-finale.
Yeah. So actually I kind of like that because it means that we won't be talking about spoilers on the finale, and we won't be talking about spoilers right now. People should have listened to this leading up to the finale, and we may be like an episode behind or so, but we can talk about some developments. Some things happened in that show, Drew.
Yes. I think the last time that we talked about Lasso at length was after the Beard episode had just aired, and we kind of gave our thoughts on that episode in particular. And now, since that one, there have been two just banger episodes, like a lot going on.
Oh, I did not like the one that was right after the Beard episode. That's the one where Rebecca's father passed away.
Yes.
Yeah, that one had way too much Rickroll, and it took me way out of the fucking show. Seriously, 3 times is way too fucking much.
Like actual
Other-
Rickrolls?
Yes, Jahan. They played the fucking Never Gonna Give You Up 3 separate times. And there was a funeral scene where like she was crying and she didn't know what to say about her dad, so she started singing it, and then everyone in the church started singing it. And I was just like, what kind of manufactured, dumbass, stupid white people shit is this? This is dumb as fuck. And it was just, that episode was fucking, there was a lot of good stuff happened in that episode. It was just particularly that left such a bad taste in my mouth. And the week before was the Beard episode that a lot of people were split on whether or not they liked it. And I liked the Beard episode, and then this one came out, and I was like, bro, this episode sucked, and everyone liked it except for me. So, shows what I know.
They are self-aware about the Rickroll stuff. I thought, they referenced its internet popularity. It's not like they're tone deaf about it, or that they don't realize it's a huge internet meme. They acknowledge it. So I don't know. It didn't bother me.
And then the episode after that, why don't you catch me up on? Well, during that episode, I guess it's of note to say that Jamie told Keeley that he still loved her. And it was not just like in passing. It was like straight up, eye to eye, emotional, kind of, took you out of the moment for a second with his honesty. And then right after that really moving moment, she turns around and is faced by Roy Kent, her boyfriend at the time. And then he professes his love for her and apologizes for kind of acting like a shit that day and not taking death seriously and making jokes to avoid emotions. So she's kind of stuck in between two guys who both have really strong feelings for her.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I just think I'm trying to think how to address this, because I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of like all the different plot points, because I could go on about it for a really long time. But the thing with Ted Lasso, what the show in general does, is I feel like we have been, like, as a culture, from years of watching network dramas and prime time, that just really, you kind of know what to expect from those shows. Like, they're always going to take the most dramatic path and extreme, and to get the most drama out of it. Ted Lasso has a way of taking these storylines and really just putting them on a more realistic path. So this is interesting, right? The little love triangle you were talking about with Keeley and Roy and Jamie, where like the way in the most recent episode that they've kind of confessed these things that have been going on recently, I'm interested to see where it's going to go, because I think as an audience, you don't want Roy to be sad, right? Like, that's the number one thing, is nobody wants Roy to get hurt.
I want Roy to get hurt.
No, Jahan, Roy's going to be your spirit animal.
I hate Roy.
No, you don't. He might be your favorite character when you start watching the show, and I shit you not. And Keeley, to the same point, Drew, no one wants to see Keeley get hurt. She's one of the most likable characters in the show. She's super likable. She's literally everybody's friend in that whole in the locker room, in the business room. Everybody loves Keeley.
Yeah, and so I'm going to be interested to see how they handle this with their relationship in the finale, which, again, at the time this episode comes out, people have seen the finale, but at the time we're talking about this, we have not seen it yet.
No,
so
but we have seen, leading up to the finale, a very tense moment between the two where they let out a lot of honesty back and forth to each other during a very awkward photo shoot at home. the newspaper shows, or the magazine shows up, Business Insider, to photograph them, and they have a moment where they just let each other know everything that's been going on, and it leaves us questioning the future of that relationship. and I forgot to mention earlier about everybody who loves Keeley, the business side, the locker room side, even Nate loves Keeley, and so and no one wants to see Keeley get hurt, especially Nate now.
Yeah, we're right now there's 3 major relationships that I think that are question marks going into the finale, because you obviously have Roy and Keeley, and then you have Ted and the therapist, but then that looks like it's kind of come to a conclusion.
That letter he left her was so fucking good.
I just really like, and when he was first reading her letter, and it doesn't tell you everything that's in the letter, but just the things that you can infer based on their camaraderie and their friendship, like at first he's reading the letter and getting emotional, and I'm thinking, this is what I was saying earlier, how our brains are, programmed for network TV. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's crying because she has like an illness, or she's confessing
Me
her.
too. I was like, she must have
him.
cancer. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, like, and then it's none of that. It's way more grounded than that, and that's one of the things I appreciate about the show, is like that relationship, was handled so well, and you kind of think she's going to be an antagonistic figure in the first couple episodes of the season, and by the end, you're just so pumped for their relationship, or at least I was, and the friendship they formed and how they helped each other. And I thought that was done really well. And then the other relationship that's a kind of a question mark is Rebecca and Sam, which now is become kind of an ongoing thing. So I guess we'll see.
I think that covers a whole lot of the plot points going into the finale, except for the one final relationship I would say we've yet to see is how it is Nate. What's going to happen with Nate? And I think this is going to be a Ted and Nate relationship that we haven't quite seen yet.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a Beard Nate relationship, because every time Nate seems to do something questionable or fucked up, Beard seems to have witnessed it and said nothing, and just watched Nate dig himself a grave. So I wouldn't be surprised if it were Beard that we saw addressed his behavior. And that would give Beard, I think, another good moment of spotlight for that character that's not totally out of character for him to do.
We've literally watched Nate go from being the lowest on the totem pole in this series to now being in a position of some kind of authority as a coach on this team. And now we see him just hungering for recognition and everything. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the relationships are affected, but also I always liked Nate a lot in the first season and rooting for him, and now you're watching him and you're kind of rooting for his downfall so that he can be humbled, and it's like
his character development has been great. That actor has really gone from kind of bumbling dunce to real swaggy dickhead who's too big for his own britches, and it's great performance from Nate. And you're right, I want to see him humbled, and I'm not above. I like Nate, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first character they wrote off the series because of his behavior. He's crossed a lot of lines at this point.
Yeah, like will he get recruited by another team and maybe get like even a higher coaching position or something, or will he? I don't know.
I could see him getting fired in the finale and being brought back in season 3.
Well, I still like Nate though. Like, it's one of those things, I want him to be humbled, and then learn from it and be the likable character that you were.
He's already had ample opportunities to learn from his mistakes, and he's been challenged on them already and decided to keep making mistakes when nobody's looking and he thinks he can get away with it. I think his comeuppance is coming.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see, and the nice thing is that by the next time we record, we'll be a week out from the finale, so we'll be able to talk spoilers, I think.
John, what do you think about
freely.
This season of Ted Lasso?
It's good.
Yeah, man. I couldn't have said it better myself.
My dad started watching, actually.
Dip.
And his first day watching, he binge watched 6 episodes. He was up till 3 a.m.
They're very digestible.
Because I was playing board games with Jenny, and he was just cranking these episodes out. It was really funny.
Good show.
My dad's
Yeah, there's something about it that obviously, like, I think Gary and I are self-aware enough to know, there's other shows that we talk about on this podcast that maybe y'all have seen and I haven't, and we just kind of talk about it in general and go on. But Gary and I think, have a passion for this show, and so I'm sorry, John, because I know you haven't seen it.
I'm sure I'll
talk
like
about
it.
it in detail.
I'm not worried about it. I kind of zone out
we like it so
sometimes, so I tune it out so I don't hear spoilers. Yeah, I'm too busy to watch Ted Lasso because I have to rewatch Doctor Who. So,
well, so Jahan, I have a show that I think you in particular would like. It's on the Apple TV Plus train here. As I continue to root for them, they have a new sci-fi series that has started, and its new episodes are coming out weekly right now. At the time of this recording, I think the first 3 episodes are available. I've only watched the first 1, but it is called Foundation, and this is based off of a sci-fi series of book called, I guess, the Foundation series. And this is getting into like your deep kind of sci-fi lore, if that's the kind of stuff that you're into, and space and different worlds that are pretty well established. This show must have a huge budget because the CG, everything in it looks great.
It
and
looks
you're like,
good.
This is just a TV show. I mean, it looks incredible. However, I had to, the first episode is over an hour long. It's a pretty long episode, setting up a lot. The first 20 minutes, there were a few times I had to go back and say, like, what did they say? Or who is this person? And once I got it and got with it, I was on board. The general premise is, gosh, it's hard to even get to, but basically there's a mathematician. Math is at the center of the storyline, right? Basically, in this space area, in this world, there's a mathematician who the theories and the formulas he's come up with basically can predict the future. That's where we're at. He can use math to predict how society's going to act or how people will behave. And based on his math, he has predicted that their society, their empire, will fall in the next 500 years or so, and like the whole universe will potentially be destroyed because the people are just going to destroy themselves in the next 500 years. And of course the empire doesn't want to hear that and doesn't want to instill fear, and so it's kind of a matter of how that affects everything. But that's kind of the general, like,
that sounds dope.
The inciting incident, at least, that's happened in this first episode. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go. Jared Harris plays the mathematician, and I don't know if y'all ever watched the Chernobyl series on HBO.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. Yeah,
but he's in that. He's in a bunch of stuff, but that's just one of the more notable things I've seen him in recently. Lee Pace plays I guess essentially the Emperor. I don't even know if I'm using the right terminology for it. So, people that have read the books and are fans don't at me on Twitter. But Lee Pace, who, he's been in the Hobbit movies, and he was Ronan the Accuser in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's in this as the Emperor, and, like, for example, they've been using the same Emperor for hundreds of years now because they just keep cloning him. So he's the Emperor, but there's an old version of him that's also there, and then a child version of him that's there because they keep cloning. It's crazy stuff.
That's actually really cool.
I dig that kind of stuff.
I like it.
And so far, just seeing the show and obviously the money that Apple pumped into it, and it's very intriguing. So, Jahan, I just know I feel like you in particular might be more into the deep sci-fi lore than Gary is. Gary, maybe I'm reading that wrong, but I really enjoyed the first episode, so hopefully next time I'll have watched a little bit more and can talk about it.
I've seen it too by next time.
It sounds like a head scratcher to me, and it sounds like it might be a boring head scratcher. But I'll wait to see what you guys say as it gets further in.
I don't think you're gonna watch them do the math, Gary.
No, I just think it's going to be a lot of talking about about interstellar physics and equations, and then and just a long slow burn.
I mean, technically, what is it? Captain America Winter Soldier was about math. Because he also did a math equation that was going to predict
Good Will
who to
Hunting
kill.
about math also. And Good Will Hunting was pretty fucking good.
There you go.
I just looked at the premise for the show Foundation on Wikipedia just to see like how do they describe it, and it's just the most generic thing ever because there's so much to go into. You can't make
people in a place do a thing with math.
Foundation chronicles the 1,000-year saga of the Foundation, a band of exiles who discover that the only way to save the Galactic Empire from destruction is to defy it. That's it. That's what it says.
What if they said instead at the end? What if they said is to divide it?
Oh, I'm all for math puns all day.
After this, we can watch The Sum of All Fears. Fuck. Math.
Good times.
So anyway, that's Foundation. So far, I'm digging it. I would say, it's hard to give it the official fresh out the podcast seal, considering this is a series that's in progress and whatever. But actually, comparisons, y'all were saying, remember when we first started watching Game of Thrones forever ago, and there were so many characters,
yes.
and you didn't know who was who, and you were confused on names? This show kind of starts off like that, where you're like, I feel like if I put in the work, it's going to be worth it later on. But man, when you're watching that first episode, you're kind of scratching your head there at times. So maybe that's the comparison I'd use. I'm not saying this show's the next Game of Thrones by any means, but...
And then by the end of it, you've only seen a White Walker like twice. You're like, motherfucker. Yeah. No, this show looks great, actually. You are right. This is exactly my taste. So, like, I am going to watch this. Like I said, I am currently rewatching Doctor Who because I miss Doctor Who. And the new season doesn't come out till later this year, so...
You heard it here first, folks. Drew says that Foundation is the new Game of Thrones.
I literally said the exact opposite.
Hashtag Foundation is Game of Thrones.
Hashtag looking forward to get your Foundation pops. Look forward to all the Foundation Telltale games coming out near stores near you. Yes, sir.
In a Telltale game, you could probably choose to do the math wrong.
Oh, man, didn't you see the wrong future?
No, this sounds dope, man. Like, for real. I can't wait to watch it. Like, I want to go watch it right now. I'm excited.
I hope you do. Let us know. Moving on from that, I know I talked a couple weeks ago about I was kind of in a John Carpenter wormhole, and I've watched a couple more. I've now seen Christine, which is the adaptation of the Stephen King book that's basically about a possessed car. I like this movie. It rules.
It does not.
Yes, it does.
No, it does not rule.
Have you seen it?
Yes, that movie is very dumb. It's a possessed car, Drew. You can't get away from a possessed car. Drew.
No.
Drew.
It heals itself. This car has a Wolverine healing factor.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, but it's like stairs, though.
Like an elevator.
Or like a slightly too small tunnel.
Like you just run up like a playground, you're like, nana boo boo.
Or like a bigger car.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Have you ever seen Starman? Because that's the next Carpenter movie I watched.
No, what is it? Explain it to me.
That's that guy in the Mario games that jumps around and you have to try to catch him and he gives you superpowers.
Why do I even talk about things on here? Why? Why do I ask you guys questions?
You're a glutton for punishment.
Starman is a 80s film directed by John Carpenter, starring Jeff Bridges. And the premise is Jeff Bridges is an alien that's come to Earth and has taken the appearance of a woman's dead husband. So this woman's grieving her dead husband. This alien comes to Earth and takes his form, and she has to get him from point A to point B so that he's not stuck on their planet. That's the premise of Starman. It is weird 80s sci-fi love story. So just
there's a
Gary's making the perfect face.
Yeah, but that's real good.
The porn parody version of that's just called Ass Man.
I thought it was called Starfish Man.
Oh no. Oh.
And then the only other thing that I've watched is just with Spider-Man. No Way Home. That's the new one, right?
Yeah, No Way Home.
Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home comes out in December, so I've been itching for some Spider-Man, and so I went back and watched Spider-Man from 2002 with the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
Why?
I wanted to. It rules. It's still good.
Spider-Man's my shit, bro. I get it.
Yeah.
The new Spider-Man movies are so good.
Yes.
They are. I'm not discounting those at all, but I wanted to get back to the roots, especially to see how much of this is going to end up becoming relevant in No Way Home, because I believe Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is in the new movie. So,
hey man,
hiding him in that trailer.
The villains in the first two movies were fire, but I still stand by those movies would be better if he had a web sphincter on his wrists. That is one of my top complaints. There is no butt on his wrist for the webs to come out of. It just shoots at his skin like sticky sweat.
This is why we just don't get Jahan's takes.
Well, in Jahan's defense, I think Spider-Man would blast web out of his ass, so his costume would have a different design, and he would swing
like the guy in Venture Brothers. There was
Correct.
A Spider-Man in Venture Brothers that did that.
Yes, he would swing around Manhattan in an interesting, offensive way.
I legitimately cannot even bring up Spider-Man without y'all bringing butts into the conversation.
Look, I would watch Tom Holland blast butt.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Well, that's all that I've been watching recently. So is there anything else that you guys have been watching?
Hey, Tom Holland, hit us up on Twitter.
Drew, I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows, which I recommend for... It's October, right? It's Halloween season. I'm not a big horror guy, but I like to feel the vibes of the season. And this is now, we're into the third season, of course. There was a movie, and then the show, I think, it was... The first season was good, the second season was even better. And the third season hasn't quite jumped the shark, but they're getting close. Go ahead and catch the third season now, because I bet the fourth season will be the one where they jump the shark. So enjoy it while you can.
Not possible.
Yeah, we'll see about that, John.
I've actually never seen the movie.
So
the movie was great.
I actually turned on the movie and I got about 20 minutes in and was like, I don't think this is for me. And then about a year later, I watched the first episode of the show and I was dying laughing. It was like, okay. And then I watched the whole first season, then went back and watched the movie, and then kept up with the show. It's a very good, funny show. It seems like a lot of what they do is stupid vampire improv. And the only straight man on their crew is a human who is their familiar, so he has to do what they say in hopes that one day he'll become a vampire. And he is very, very funny. There's a camera crew following them around, so they constantly break the fourth wall and talk to the cameras. But
so it's like the Office style kind of mockumentary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you not seen it, Drew?
Is the movie like that too?
Yes.
Yes. Drew, you need to watch this show. So I'm surprised by how often I've been able to talk about this in particular on the podcast, but yet again, a Persian lead in something. Like it's been happening more and more, and I'm just so happy. It's just so nice for us to not be the bad guys and stuff, you know. Like, and Nandor, he actually has a horse named Jahan, and there's a whole bit where people can't say his horse's name right, and I feel like they made that joke for me, and it was so awesome. And it's just it's such a great show.
One of the great things about the show too is Nandor has been a vampire for maybe 1,000 years and doesn't know anything about modern technology and forgot his ancient language. And the other two have been vampires since like maybe the early Victorian era, so they're also totally out of touch and out of date. They're very dumb. And then their other roommate is Colin Robinson. And Colin Robinson is an energy vampire. And he works a 9 to 5 and he can go out in the daylight. And so he's just a fucking boring ass white dude.
The other day
he is so fucking funny.
He's so funny. The other day we were talking about City of Mist and who we were making in City of Mist. It was him.
It was Colin Robinson, you're right.
I forgot about that. It was him. We forgot. But yeah, Colin Robinson, oh my god.
He just in the most recent episode I watched, he did a "that's what she said" joke, but he delivered it wrong and then was telling them that he just found out about that new line of jokes and was going to start trying it on. so
good.
Colin Robinson
That
is special.
bomb. Yeah, no.
Then one more show still on Hulu because you know I'm the Hulu boy. You're the Apple TV boy. I be watching that Hulu business. Wu-Tang American Saga actually had the best episode so far of the entire series. It was directed by Mario Van Peebles, and I don't think he usually directs. I think it was a guest directing spot. And it was season 2, episode 5, and the episode is called Visions. And in this episode, it takes to they're trying to get their single out in time, and they basically have to have it out in 2 days. And RZA says everything they have isn't good enough for the single. They need to get everyone in the studio and record something, and they've got 2 days to do it. So he's writing new beats, he's working on new music, and it goes into his head and shows how he's controlling the music, where he like takes the guitar players out and they disappear in the time-space void in front of him. And then he adds another drum track by putting another record on. So then a second drummer appears and both drummers are drumming at the same time, talking to each other. And he gets up and starts talking to them, then goes back and is changing the levels. And the drummers are doing basically what he's doing on the board. And so it's a really cool, artful episode. And it's so good that I would say, if you want to watch this show, do not watch this episode first, because it's an unrealistic expectation for what the rest of the show is. This is a very good gem of an episode in the middle of a show that I like, but this episode is above and beyond what the rest of the content of this show. They really outdid themselves with this one. Every single week, these episodes come out at 11 p.m. on Tuesday, and I promise you by midnight or 12:15, I'm watching. I don't wait until the next day. I don't miss it. I'm watching Wu-Tang the night it comes out. Every single week. I love this show. I can't say enough good for it. I recommend it greatly. Jahan, I'm going to pass it to you in a second for games, but I have a game. So if you don't mind, I'll do mine and then give it to you to finish up with games.
Yeah, bro.
Have you
Game
seen...
2.
Oh, you've got a game too, Drew?
Yeah, for once.
Oh, shit. Oh, you do. I see that. I didn't even see it on your list. So I watched the trailer for this and literally laughed out loud by myself. Call of Duty Vanguard is coming out. Do you guys even know what that is?
I saw that it was announced, and I was unsure. The title is so generic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, Call of Duty titles are Call of Duty titles. We know what to expect, you know, for the most part. But I honestly was unsure when this was announced if this was a new standalone entry, like a retail version, or if this was a new. What was the Call of Duty Warzone that was free to play?
Exactly.
I wasn't sure
is it
if this
a new
was
Warzone mode.
Yeah, is this like a new Warzone, or is this the next Call of Duty entry?
So I think that this is the next Call of Duty entry.
Okay.
When I watched this trailer, it's just so fucking uninspiring. Just like the title, like you said, like, you know, Vanguard is just so generic. This just did nothing for me. It is just the most boring looking vanilla bullshit shooter that it was so fucking uninspiring it made me laugh. Like, don't make a game if this is going to be your game. just fucking don't even bother.
I mean, that just feels like Call of Duty to me.
I know that you shit on Call of Duty often, but I'll defend Call of Duty because everyone's gonna be mad at me right now because the Counter-Strike people, I think that Call of Duty is Counter-Strike of this generation. CS was it was the big game everybody played. It was the big first-person shooter, and it was tactical. And when I play Call of Duty, I play the bomb defuse mode, search and destroy. So I play the Counter-Strike mode, and I play hardcore. So I'm playing Counter-Strike mode. 1 or 2 shots is going to kill you. Headshots kill you. I don't play arcade, dolphin dive, perks, and all the silly shit that Call of Duty has to offer. So I love my Call of Duty experience. I can't get that anywhere else. But I am not going to buy a Call of Duty every year. I'm not going to buy any game every single year, and not Madden, not FIFA, none of that shit. And I like sports games. I'll just play one once a decade. I like Call of Duty. I'll play one once a decade.
Yeah, you don't need... Yeah, I'll play one once a decade as well. I will not buy Call of Duty Black Ops, Call of Duty Black Ops. I will not do that.
And whatever the fuck Call of Duty Vanguard isn't getting bought either. Yeah. That's it for me for games.
No, I'm actually... So just for my 2 cents, because I'm with you on Call of Duty, I actually like the Call of Duty games. I don't buy every entry. I buy them every few years, and I have some friends. I usually actually get it on PS5. I have some friends that I play PlayStation with, and they like playing Call of Duty. So every now and then I'll buy one of them and play it with them. So I've actually been playing what's the current one? Call of Duty Cold War with them, and I actually really like it. It's fun. I mean, Call of Duty, say what you want about it, but like the first person shooting controls and everything just feel perfect on it. They kind of revolutionized, like everything has kind of adapted to what Call of Duty was doing with their controls.
Their vaulting is cool. They got prone to go slide. You can shoot through light cover. Their weapon upgrades that let you totally customize your kits and your colors. You can swap out so you have fast reloads or longer mags or stable or lasers. The game's dope, man. It's everything we wanted from a first-person shooter.
I like playing it with friends. I'll rarely play it by myself, so I never invest enough to get really good at it, which I think is the thing that frustrates me with it, is like I'm not very good, but I also realize I don't put in the time to get good at it. So that, but that's fine. I still like playing it. I still have fun.
See, I've always been Battlefield. Battlefield's my shooter franchise. That's what I want. They put one out every several years, like 3 to 5, and it shows. They have quality games. They have much grander, like, tactical combat where it's not just, Twitch shooting, Twitch gaming kind of stuff. Also, I mean, Call of Duty, there's a lot. Have they revolutionized first-person shooters? Maybe. I mean, the controls, everyone does try to copy their controls, and the
I wouldn't say they've revolutionized first-person shooters necessarily, but I do think because of how they blew up in popularity and they became like the number one
standard. Yeah, you're not
wrong.
wrong.
That like even games like how we grew up playing Halo, or at least Gary and I sure did. Because Jahan, I think you've said that you didn't play it as much.
Not as much. I did play it growing up often, but I never owned it.
But like we grew up playing Halo, and it seemed like games were gonna copy that, and then Call of Duty came along and did their thing, and now even Halo has somewhat adapted to things that Call of Duty's been doing.
I would rather play Call of Duty than play Halo. I like the Call of Duty jump grab, when you can mantle ledges. I like taking cover with B behind something and shooting instead of left clicking the thumbstick, like in Halo, where shooting and running are such a pain in the ass to do one or the other. Call of Duty, I think, it's a more pleasant shooting experience for me.
I do like Black Ops. I do like zombies. For obvious reasons, I have a problem. I understand just because it has zombies in it doesn't make it good. But I'll also argue that it does. So
I was going to say, tell that to my friend Jahan.
Yeah, no, I'll also argue that it absolutely does. Just make somebody walk funny and have blood come out of their face, and it makes it better. That's just it. I don't care. I have bad taste. I don't know what to say.
In my mind's eye, I saw somebody trip and fall down, and then they got up with blood coming out of their face, and then you were laughing about it because they were walking funny with blood out of their face.
That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I like zombies. I like Black Ops. I don't know. And you know that coupled all the issues and repetitiveness of Call of Duty releases, coupled with their very toxic fan base. They do attract a specific frat boy-iness. I mean, I guess, you know, shooters just do in general, but Call of Duty seems to be more guilty of that. And it's just, I don't know. I would rather play Battlefield. If you like Call of Duty, that's fine. And I might even play it with, you know, my friends if I had a group to play with. It could be something I enjoy. But Battlefield is just by and far much more fun to my tastes.
I like them both.
That's a valid ass opinion right there.
I'll have one scoop of Battlefield and one scoop of Call of Duty, please.
Let's see. I'll switch gears real quick and just talk about another game. I won't linger on this too long, but I did get Diablo 2 Resurrected. So this is the I don't think you can really call it a remake. It's more of kind of a remaster of Diablo 2, which I was a huge fan of back in the day and sunk a lot of hours into Diablo 2. So I was hesitant. I almost didn't buy this, but then, you know, I was thinking I wasn't going to, and then it came out and it was on the shop, and I don't know what happened. I clicked purchase and then it was downloading. So, you know, things happen. Things happen. I was just interested to dive in, and you know, Gary talked last week about Limnus Gate and just matchmaking issues when games launch, and sure enough, when I first queued up Diablo 2, the first time I tried to load a game, it failed, and I had to dashboard out, restart the game, and then it worked. And then I had times where I was playing as my character in the middle of a quest, and it would say that it disconnected or something happened, and then you would lose progress or something, or it would show me that I lost progress, and I'd quit out the game, and when I logged back in later, it had kept my progress. They were just having major server issues. There were reports of people on PC or on console that even made offline characters that then they got disconnected and their character got deleted somehow. And then it would reappear later or something. So they were having issues of their own, as everybody seems to.
It just feeds back into what we were talking about earlier. It might have even been last week, but just get your game good, son. Like, before you put it in my hands. Like,
stop releasing shit where the networking and the matchmaking doesn't fucking work.
Blizzard is is it $1 billion company at this point, right?
Let me talk shit about Blizzard.
Hey,
so
Blizzard,
these guys,
Blizzard, but
these guys settled their California lawsuit that they had, and they had to pay like $18 million, which is like a fraction of what they made on the new Diablo re-release of a 20-year-old remastered game. So they just get to treat people like shit and then use their pocket change from old games to pay people off. Man, fuck this game, Drew, and fuck you for buying.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, honestly. I was going to say, I don't want to get too much into the politics of Blizzard and every understandable anger that gamers have towards them. Like, absolutely. And yeah, I made the decision to buy this out of nostalgia, which unfortunately,
I want to buy it too.
Supports them, but that being said, I just wanted to talk about some of those networking issues. That being said, once I played it, a day or so later, when it seemed like some of those day one issues were gone, and I was able to play for a length of time and not have issues. I haven't played a ton, but I beat Act 1. It definitely was scratching that nostalgia itch that I wanted from it. And there's a part of me now that's like, I beat Act 1, and I'm like, do I even want to play through the rest of it now? Like, I feel like I just needed that little taste of it again to be like, Diablo 2.
I want to touch it too, man. I only play Necromancer.
I actually, my character's a Necromancer as well.
That's all I do.
So
I do Necromancer. I love Necromancer.
Drew, did you bring back any of your great character names that you used to have?
My Necromancer is named Drunomancer.
I was always Necro King. That was
The
always
reason-
my name.
The reason this happened is because the first Diablo 2 character I ever made was a druid, and my name is Drew, so I named him Druid. Druid, because
Nah, that's
I'm
fine.
clever like that. And then every time I made a character after that, I just did the same model. So I had Drew Barian and Drew Sasson and Drunomancer. And that's how I named my Diablo characters.
I've always been a huge fan of that.
That's really funny. Yeah, no, Necker King was always it was my name in other games too. That just became my name when I played online, was Necker King for like a long time when I was a kid. So yeah, fond memories of Diablo as well. And by fond memories, I mean being alone in a room and very, very sad for like a lot of the time. But
Fond
hey,
memories indeed.
but yeah, is that me now? Am I
It's
on?
you.
Alrighty. So yeah, I want to talk about. It's not new, but it just came out on Game Pass, and I've been waiting because I am poor. But I loved Subnautica. It is also free on Game Pass today. Like, it's still free on Game Pass. Subnautica Below Zero dropped on Game Pass. I held out. I got it for free. I can't stop playing it. It's so fun. They added overland cold places that you have to like not freeze to death on, land vehicles, which they didn't have previously because there wasn't that much land.
Is Subnautica a survival
It is a
crafting
survival game. Yes, it is a survival. You can build your base, you build supplies, you go gather stuff. So much fun. I am terrified of like the ocean and water. So this game is terrifying for me, but I don't know. I like playing it. It's so scary, but like in a good way. I feel like this one isn't quite as scary as the first one. The first one, I almost died in real life when I got grabbed by a Leviathan for the first time. Like, I seriously almost died in real life. This game, I'm a little better. You know, maybe I've grown up. I don't know, but this game is fire, man. Can't suggest it enough. And then, yeah, there's also another one. If you like that, but you don't want to go into the water, there's Breath's Edge, which is also free on Game Pass, which I played a bit. And it's in space. Yeah.
Yes.
And that one has a lot more humor. Like, you can make the booster by eating shawarma, and, like, you know, it's fart powered. So, like, you know, it has that kind of stuff, but also...
You have an immortal chicken with you.
You have an immortal chicken with you.
The way you can diffuse a lot of stuff is like the chicken's on a broomstick and you just jam the chicken into the thing and it diffuses the problem.
It has a pretty cool story. You know, it's fun. You were on a ship that's transporting like coffins across, you know, interstellar space. You work for like a funerary company. And I don't know, it's good times, but I enjoy these kinds of survival games sometimes. I don't always like it. Sometimes it's annoying and tedious. I feel like Subnautica, it's actually really fun. And Breath's Edge as well was also very fun for me. And yeah, so the other thing is, so very quickly, right here before we end, I would like to show you guys some cool upcoming, what do you call it?
Crowdfunding stuff.
Crowdfunding stuff. Yes.
There you go. Them's are words.
Them's is words.
Wish we had like a little song or ditty to play for Jahan's crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding stuff.
Hey, look who's coming. It's Jahan. He's got some crowdfunding going on.
Crowdfunding corral.
Whoopsh.
We need that with some music thrown under it. If somebody could take that little sound bite, put some music, we're good.
If you go into Kickstarter tonight, you're in for a big surprise. All right, so the first thing I'm going to highlight is something from a friend of the show, Alan Barr. He has Mecha and Monsters Evolved, the role-playing game. It's live now on Kickstarter. At the time of this airing, it is going to have like 3 days left, I think. So jump on it. It is a minimalist TTRPG rules light kind of thing where you get to play as mechs and monsters. So if that's ever been your dream, check it out. The price of admission is not very high, so you can get something here for relatively cheap. An interesting board game coming out, Keep the Heroes Out. It seems to be an asymmetric game for 3 to 4 players, 45 minutes. It's got some cutesy kind of artwork. Looks fun for sure. It looks like you're playing as the monsters in a dungeon, trying to protect it from adventurers. And it just looks like a good time. This one caught my eye because of the artwork. $50 gets you the whole game. And then here's a very cool looking game, Voidfall. Love the artwork. I love the ship miniatures, the spaceships. They look so cool. And then the board itself is beautiful. They have almost raised $1 million. They have 6,800 backers. And they have 15 days to go as of this airing. Here's a little bit. Here's like a picture of what it looks like. It has a module game board. It has these like individual player boards that look really nice. Beautiful components.
This is a hex game or a 4X game?
This is a 4X game. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a 4X game with a Euro spin. And so it has some of that, play on your own kind of stuff, not direct competition all the time kind of thing. And it has scenarios. So that looks like a lot of fun. Something I am tempted to buy. And there's also cooperative mode.
Hey, I'm looking at this. This game looks like it's not for the hobbyist. It looks like it is a big game for a big boy.
Yeah, the Voidfall game is a big game for a big boy. Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's heavy. I doubt it's too, it's probably a little complicated, but I like that. This game, I actually think I'm going to back Beast. This one, I'm going to give like my seal of like, hey, this looks dope. 25 days to go, raised almost $200,000 with 2,800 backers. Beast. It is an asymmetric 4v1 game. So it can, it can be 1v1, it can be 2v1, but it can go all the way up to, I guess, 3v1. Sorry, I misspoke. 30 minutes per player. It's not that bad. It's a hidden movement game. Gary, you played one of these with me, the Friday the 13th game.
And I'm looking at this game right now, and this looks awesome.
Someone plays as a beast, a legendary beast, and they move around the board in secret. Obviously, if you've ever played a secret movement game, you do it off on a little sheet of paper. If you haven't, it's pretty fun. I've never done it except once, and it was awesome. I might get this game. Everyone else is trying to hunt them. And you have cards, you have all kinds of stuff, the game board, the artwork, everything looks beautiful. And I believe this is also going to be $60, get you done. And it just looks a lot of fun, And Gary's all about it, huh?
Yes, it's co-op, so I'm in. It's asymmetrical, so I like that. The Friday the 13th game, Drew, the hidden movement Jahan was Jason, and so he would write down on a piece of paper his turn where he moved, and the rest of us had to get keys to unlock, the red key unlocked the red cabin, yellow key, yellow cabins. There's 4 different cabins. And once we got in the cabins, he could tear them down, rip through the walls and hunt after us, but he couldn't do that until the next phase. And so the game works the first phase, he's hunting us. The second phase, we're chasing him. Then the third phase, he can rip down cabins and come after us and kill us.
It's funny. After we played that game on our stream, it actually had a resurgence and a re-release. Not because of us, I don't think. But I think they just had a Kickstarter as well. Last Friday is what it's called.
There's actually a Friday the 13th video game that kind of follows that same format, but in video game form. One player plays as Jason, the other plays as campers, trying to get keys, gasoline, whatever, to get the car started or boat started, whatever, to escape. And meanwhile, Jason has ways of tracking them, and the goal is either escape or Jason, if you're Jason, to kill the kids before they can escape.
These types of games are super fun, and especially at Halloween, a game themed this way with a guy who really knows how to play board games versus some people who are more casual, this could be a really fun night. I recommend these types of games.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very, very cool. And then here's another game that it's a sequel, more or less. One Deck Dungeon is the original. This one's called One Deck Galaxy, and it's a sci-fi twist on a classic. You literally use one deck of cards that have all different monsters and happenings on them, and you and your friends cooperatively go through, and you can level up. You assign dice to fight monsters and complete challenges. It's very fun. It's a classic. Everybody loves it. One Deck Galaxy is out now on Kickstarter as well. And then the final thing I want to talk about, Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. So the Red Dragon Inn is a game where your characters are competing in essentially a drinking contest, more or less. You're trying not to get too drunk while also not going broke, something like that. And it's been a while, but it's a classic game in the hobby. And this one, you get to leave the bar and go out on an adventure. And that sounds like a whole thing. It sounds very cool. 1 to 4 player co-op game, already fully funded. 25 days to go on that. And that's pretty much it that I have on my my crowdfunding corral. I did have a question, since we are now in the month of October. It's something I wanted to ask you guys earlier. What is your go-to like horror franchise? Like, what are you guys doing the Halloween? You doing the Jason, the Friday the 13th? What are you guys doing? Freddy Krueger, Hellraiser, zombie stuff.
I've been doing my Carpenter watch through, but even regardless of that, I'm a big fan of Halloween. I love the original. I really like the sequel from a few years ago. I'm really excited. Actually, the time this episode comes out next week will be the newest Halloween movie, Halloween Kills. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis reprising once again, coming through. And I liked the one a few years ago. I saw that one in theaters. You're talking about the one with like where like she's older and she lives in the woods. Yeah,
it's basically a direct sequel to the original and kind of
they continued the original trilogy, sequels. And that was awesome. Yeah, I love Halloween is also my pick when it comes to classic slasher. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I'm gonna watch Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. A lot during Halloween. That's what I'm gonna watch. But I'm also gonna watch the Halloween series.
Without a shadow of a doubt, if I'm going slasher, I'm a Jason guy. Jason Voorhees for days. I think the machete and the hockey mask are iconic, and I'll never forget one of the Jason movies. I guess the one that came out close to 2010. The scene where he stabs the machete up through the dock into the girl's head and then brings it back down. Her head slams on the dock. And then just a few scenes later, there's a topless chick on a boat skiing, and then she gets shot through the heart with an arrow, and it just like cuts to Jason standing on the bank with a bow. He just puts it like a fucking compound bow with like the wheels and pulleys and everything, and he just slowly sets it down like no big deal. He's something else, man. That's a great slasher.
And if true horror isn't your thing, you might want to consider watching Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
That's what I was gonna say. So
I know.
True horror is not my thing.
You were gonna say.
So I was thinking maybe this year I might try to dig up Scary Movie 3.
Is that the one with the iPod?
It's the one with the sheriff whose hat keeps getting bigger every time the camera cuts to her.
That's funny. That's a funny bit.
Yes, and then her hat's too big to fit in the car. And so that particular bit always struck me as being great when I was a kid. Maybe I'll try to dig that gem up.
But yeah, did we cover all of our topics this week?
Yeah, man.
We did.
And more.
We did. This is it. It's a wrap. That's episode 14 in the can.
I'm gonna miss you guys.
Anyone want to have anything that they want to say to everybody before we see them again?
Happy Halloween.
But Not
we're gonna have episodes before Halloween, so
We are.
so that
You can count on it.
and I mean you can still say it.
look. I just wanted to say, I'll say my part, Jahan, and then you let me know if you want to say anything. I just wanted to say that we're here every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central, playing tabletop role-playing games and board games. That's twitch.tv/Jahananon. And you can find us at Fresh Out the Box on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and, well, not Twitch, everywhere else, though. You find us, Fresh Out the Box, playing games and doing things. What you got, Jahan?
I'm Jahananon, at Jahananon1 on TikTok and at Rockfact on Twitter. I am a board game enthusiast. You can go check my links, follow me on Instagram, that kind of stuff. Yeah, check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff.
I'm an enthusiast.
Yeah, I'm a board game fanatic and TTRPG savant. I don't know. Good.
I'm just an enthusiast, Jahan. I just like people who like things.
There you go. Yeah, I'm enthused about enthusiasts as well, friend.
Mm-hmm. Drew, do you like people who like things?
Too. People can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, at Drew Munhausen on Letterboxd. If you want to follow what I've been watching recently, what I've been logging, because I log everything on there.
Cool.
And at Drew's Blues on TikTok. And, of course, make sure to follow that Fresh Out the Box Twitter account as well.
Do we have a hashtag this week, guys? Can you think of one? Hashtag. Hashtag Ted Lasso sucks.
Hashtag Spider-Man butts.
Hashtag Spider-Man wrist butt. Hit us with that.
What's his name? What's the Tom
Holland.
Tom Holland butt blast. Hashtag Tom Holland butt blast.
There it is.
Holland butt blast. There we go. From our lips to God's ears. Everybody have yourself a great evening. Thank you for watching. And we've been Fresh Out the Box.